Chapter 1033. Not only that, the 9 turns nether mantra was forcefully interrupted, causing him to suffer from the backlash of his cultivation technique. His entire body suffered severe internal injuries. Even the spiritual power in his body became sluggish. It could be said that at this moment, Lu Yil was extremely weak due to internal and external troubles. On the other hand, Lin Xian became more and more courageous as the battle progressed. The art of longevity in his body had a powerful recovery and circulation ability, giving him an endless supply of spiritual power. On the other hand, the great dragon sword spirit boosted Lin Xian's combat strength to the extreme. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Xian was like a sword god, unstoppable. Bang! Another sword slash viciously landed on Lu Yil's body. Suddenly, a sword wound appeared on his body, and one could clearly see the deep white bones and churned flesh. Lu Yil went completely crazy. He disregarded all consequences and swung his right fist to resist Lin Xian. The nether chi pulsed and wrapped around his fist, forming a strange force to resist Lin Xian's sword aura. The two of them exchanged a few moves. Lin Xian's sword aura became more and more fierce. He swung his sword 5 times in a row, all of which slashed at the fist. Suddenly, the powerful nether fire was also extinguished by the fierce sword light. Seeing this scene, Lu Yil was shocked, and a trace of despair appeared in his eyes. That was the nether fire. It was the most powerful flame he could form by burning his spiritual power, but it couldn't resist Lin Xian's sword aura. He couldn't believe it and turned to flee. The current Lin Xian's momentum was too strong, and he couldn't resist at all. However, Lin Xian was faster than him. The moment Lu Yil moved, Lin Xian quickly used the Ice Lotus Martial Soul. A powerful icy force enveloped the surroundings, immediately slowing down Lu Yil's speed. Streaks of blue icy aura surged, forming countless frosts, as if they were about to freeze him. Damn it, get out of my way! Lu Yil was extremely angry. He quickly burned his spiritual energy to form the netherworld flame to resist the ice. However, what awaited him was another sharp sword light. This sword light drew a strange arc in the air and quickly chopped at his right arm. Suddenly, a powerful light burst out. With a blood-curdling scream, Lu Yil's right arm was chopped off again. Blood gushed out and dyed the sky red. Ah! Lu Yil let out a blood-curdling scream. Both of his arms had been chopped off. It could be said that he had completely lost the ability to fight. If he didn't have a heaven-defying elixir, it would be impossible for him to recover his arms with his current cultivation. In other words, he would become a cripple in the future. This was worse than killing him. Everyone was shocked once again. Their eyes were filled with fear. The powerful Lu Yil had lost an arm again. This was too terrifying. They knew that Lu Yil had lost. Not only had he lost this battle, but he had also lost his life in the future. A martial artist without arms was like a tiger without claws and teeth. They were afraid that Lu Yil would fall from the ranks of geniuses in the future. He might even be worse than an ordinary person. Murong Qingqing's lips curled up. She knew that Lin Xian had won this battle. No! In the sky, Lu Yil let out an indignant roar. He seemed to have gone crazy. He quickly burned all the spiritual energy in his body. Even his blood was burning. Brat, I'm going to kill you! Lu Yil's voice tore through the sky and shook the 9 heavens. He was like a demon, making one's scalp tingle. Under his desperate urging, the chi of the netherworld around him grew more and more, and then quickly enveloped him. A pitch-black netherworld armor quickly formed and covered Lu Yil's entire body. 2 ghostly claws formed where his severed arms were. It was extremely dark and terrifying. At this moment, Lu Yil's aura was too terrifying. Wearing the netherworld armor, the netherworld flames danced on it, making him look like a demon king from hell. In the next moment, his body swayed and he charged toward Lin Xian like a bolt of black lightning. Ha, let's die together! Lu Yil's face was ferocious and there was a trace of despair in his eyes. Oh no, he wants to perish together with us. Murong Qingqing became nervous again. Everyone around them was nervous. They stared at the sky and held their breaths. Lin Xian was also shocked. He could naturally sense how powerful his opponent was. He had sacrificed his life in exchange for power. His opponent's netherworld armor was probably no weaker than his Red Lotus armor. Moreover, his opponent was determined to perish together with him. Therefore, he could no longer hold back. An ice lotus formed under his feet. Lin Xian released his ice lotus martial soul and quickly released the merciless power of wind and snow. A violent snowstorm quickly formed around him and a dark blue world of ice and snow quickly took shape. Lin Xian did not do this because he wanted to use his ice lotus martial soul to resist Lu Yil. Instead, he wanted to use the endless snowstorm to block everyone's vision. In the next moment, he was going to release his great dragon sword soul. The surrounding snowstorm became more and more intense, forming a light screen that covered a radius of 100 miles. No one could see what was happening inside. And now, Lin Xian had summoned her great dragon sword soul. A dragon-shaped sword shadow appeared in front of him. It was like a real dragon, and it crushed the void. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian reached out and grabbed the dragon-shaped sword hilt. Then, a dragon's roar resounded through the sky. In the next moment, a sword radiance lit up as if a real dragon had been born. It roared and surged forward. This sword radiance was so sharp that nothing could stop it. It was like a divine sword radiance that swept and destroyed everything. Bang! In the next moment, the dragon-shaped sword radiance collided with Lu Yil. Bang! 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 A terrifying explosion rang out. Under Lu Lai's horrified gaze, the underworld armor on his body was cut in half. Not only that, his entire body was cut in half along with his underworld armor. Even though he knew that he was going to die, Lu Yil did not believe that Lin Xian could cut through his underworld armor. One had to know that even a fifth heaven supremacy could not cut through the armor, but Lin Xian had done it. He did not have the chance to think about why because his body had been cut in half. He could not be more dead. Lin Xian also withdrew his great dragon sword soul. His face was extremely pale. This battle was too intense. His opponent was very powerful and had used many trump cards. Therefore, he had used too many trump cards, causing him to expend too much energy. Fortunately, he had a powerful cultivation technique like the longevity art. Otherwise, he would not have been able to use so many powerful martial arts. In the next moment, Lin Xian withdrew his ice lotus martial soul and the surrounding world of ice and snow. The crowd below could not wait any longer. When the world of ice and snow appeared, they were abnormally anxious because they realized that they could not see the situation inside clearly. Even Xing Yulong and Murong Qishu were the same. Fortunately, they did not have to wait for long before the world of ice and snow disappeared quickly. It disappeared. Is the battle over? Someone exclaimed. Instantly, everyone was shocked and looked up to take a closer look. Then, they were all stunned. Their minds went blank, and they were dumbfounded. This was because they saw Lin Xian standing in the void with a pale face. In front of him was Lu Yil, who had been cut in half. What? Lu Yil is dead! He was cut in half. Was he killed by a single sword radiance? Chapter 1034. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They didn't dare to believe it because they had seen with their own eyes how Lu Yil wanted to perish together with his opponent. It was too terrifying. Even a fifth-level venerable wouldn't be able to resist it. However, Lu Yil was dead, and Lin Xian was fine. What happened? Lu Yil used such a powerful move, but he was still killed. What kind of martial arts did Lin Xian use? Everyone was puzzled and discussed spiritedly. They knew that all of this had happened when the world of ice was formed, but none of them could see the situation inside clearly. They only knew that Lu Yil had been split in half. Lu Yil's death caused a huge shock to everyone. They didn't expect that such a battle between the top young geniuses would end like this. That was Lu Yil. He was a top genius and had many trump cards in his hand. In the end, He even used an earth-tear martial arts, but he was still killed here. Everyone looked at Lin Xian in the sky with reverence. Xin Yulong and the sixth-grade alchemists beside him had gloomy expressions. Their eyes were filled with shock. They felt as if they were dreaming, and they didn't dare to believe what had happened. Especially Xin Yulong, his entire body trembled slightly. One had to know that Lu Yil was an expert who was on par with him, but now he was killed. Didn't this mean that even he wasn't a match for Lin Xian? The sixth-grade alchemist's expression was even more ferocious. He clenched his fists tightly and roared in his heart. Not only was Lin Xian's talent in alchemy better than his, but his battle prowess was also heaven-defying. He could even kill top geniuses. This made him extremely jealous and terrified. Beside him, Murong Qi Shu was silent. He was extremely shocked. Previously, he didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes. He thought that Lin Xian was just borrowing Murong Qingqing's power. Now, it seemed that he was gravely mistaken. Regardless of talent or battle prowess, Lin Xian was a top existence in the younger generation. This caused a trace of fear to emerge in his heart. Even Murong Qingqing's eyes flashed. Lin Xian's methods were indeed beyond her expectations. The Ryu family disciples below were wailing like ghosts and howling like wolves. They couldn't accept the fact that their family's top experts had been killed here. Wello Lance's legs trembled as he looked at Lin Xian. He really didn't expect that this young man, who was inferior to him a month ago, would now be able to kill the top genius of his family. Looking at that figure, a deep sense of despair rose in his heart. Lu Yil's death not only alarmed the surrounding younger generation, but also those big shots. After all, Lu Yil's identity was special. He was a genius of the Ryu family, and the Ryu family was one of the 8 great families under Prince Ling Feng. Furthermore, Lu Yil's sister had become Prince Ling Feng's woman. If Prince Ling Feng knew about Lu Yil's death, he wouldn't let the matter rest. With Prince Ling Feng's methods, killing Lin Xian would be as easy as flipping his hand. Even if Lin Xian had Senmu College behind him, he wouldn't be able to escape. However, those big shots didn't say anything. Lin Xian's current status and talent didn't allow them to say anything. Ancestor Qiyu sighed as he looked at the figure in the sky, his eyes flickering. In the end, he said in a deep voice, "Send the rest of the Ryu family's disciples out." He couldn't control Lu Yil's death. After all, it was a voluntary duel, and he had no right to interfere. However, he still had to protect the remaining Ryu family's disciples. Otherwise, if the Ryu family's disciples were all killed in Crimson Crescent City, Lu Jiao wouldn't let them off. Seeing the Ryu family's disciples retreat, Lin Xian's expression was cold. He didn't make a move. This was because these people didn't have the right to make him do anything. However, the crowd remained silent. They knew that the Ryu family wouldn't let this matter rest. Lin Xian looked coldly at the corpse in front of him. Then, he waved his hand and took the corpse's storage ring into his hand. Since he was already enemies with the Ryu family, he wouldn't return their storage ring. With Lu Yil's status, there should be a lot of treasures in the storage ring. Other things aside, the value of the Black Dragon Bow alone was enough to shock the world. Moreover, Lin Xian guessed that the storage ring might contain the 9 turns nether mantra. After all, it was a true earth-tier unbounded mantra. Its value was immeasurable. Seeing Lin Xian's action, the crowd's eyes were filled with greed and envy. However, no one dared to say anything. Even the bigwigs didn't say anything. The Crimson Dragon, on the other hand, was unusually excited. He waved his dragon claws and jumped up and down excitedly. However, in the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He shouted with all his might, "Kid, watch out!" In fact, even without his warning, Lin Xian had already sensed the danger. The 10,000 bee stings weapon spirit in his body suddenly gave him a warning. In the next moment, he felt a shocking murderous intent enveloping him. The moment Zero warned him, Lin Xian had already used the illusory demon steps and retreated to the side. However, he had underestimated his opponent's speed. Fast, he was too fast. His opponent's speed wasn't any weaker than his illusory demon steps. This made him extremely shocked. After all, his illusory demon steps was also an earth-tier martial art. It was extremely fast. Even a 5th level supreme might not be able to catch up to him. However, his opponent was able to keep up with his speed. This made him extremely shocked. Obviously, his opponent must have an earth-tier martial art movement technique. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to catch up to him. A cold light flashed in the sky. It was like the cold moonlight, carrying a biting cold murderous intent. Then, a figure quickly approached Lin Xian like a ghost. At the same time, the cold moonlight in the sky quickly slashed down at Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone's hearts trembled. Even Xin Yilong and Murong Qingshu's expressions changed drastically. This attack was too fast. Even they couldn't dodge it. Boom! The red lotus armor on Lin Xian's body shone brightly, forming the most solid defense. In the next moment, the cold light ruthlessly slashed at the armor, emitting a clanging sound of metal clashing. Blood splattered everywhere. It was extremely glaring. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Lin Xian to be injured. One had to know that even Lu Yil couldn't break through the armor. However, someone was able to break through the armor's defense. Lin Xian's pupils abruptly shrank as he rapidly retreated. His heart was filled with intense shock. His opponent was able to cut through his red lotus armor. This was too shocking. His armor was extremely strong. Even when he fought Lu Yil, it didn't shatter. However, his opponent had cut through his defense and injured him. Shocking. He was truly shocked. The longevity incantation in his body circulated quickly. The wound on his chest stopped bleeding. However, the cold air forever shrouded everyone's hearts. Whoosh! Just as Lin Xian quickly retreated, another cold light flashed and quickly slashed at his throat. It was as if it wanted to cut off his head. A figure holding a machete quickly slashed at Lin Xian like a god of death. Chapter 1035. A figure appeared in the sky with a machete in his hand. Like a god of death, he quickly slashed at Lin Xian. Fast, too fast. The attack was so fast that no one could react in time. In the blink of an eye, the person was already in front of Lin Xian. The machete in his hand rose and fell rapidly. The blade was as cold as autumn water. The terrifying cold light was filled with boundless killing intent as if he wanted to cut off Lin Xian's head. The crowd was shocked. They did not expect such a thing to happen. Just as Lin Xian had won the battle with Lu Yil, someone actually wanted to kill Lin Xian. Moreover, what made them even more shocked was that this person was too terrifying. That kind of terrifying murderous aura, that decisive move, and that one-hit kill posture showed that this person was definitely a terrifying assassin. With Lin Xian's current state and the sudden attack, it was impossible for him to dodge. Murong Qingqing's expression changed drastically. She waved her hand and struck out a large purple palm. She grabbed at the sky in an attempt to stop the assassin. However, the other party was too fast. Even if she attacked now, she could not resolve the crisis. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed as well. This streak of light was far too sharp, and it had sealed off all of his paths of retreat, leaving him with nowhere to hide. Obviously, the other party was a top-notch assassin. Moreover, everything had been planned. At the critical moment, he roared angrily. He held the Lone Star sword tightly, bent his body slightly, and stabbed out quickly. Since he could not dodge, he would attack quickly. He would use offense as defense to resolve the crisis. Seeing this, the crowd gasped. At the same time, they were shocked by Lin Xian's decisiveness. In such a situation where death was certain, even a 5th-level supremacy would be scared out of his wits. However, Lin Xian thought of using offense as defense to resolve the crisis. Needless to say, he was too bold. However, this was the only way to survive. A sword light flashed and streaked across the sky like a shooting star. At the critical moment, Lin Xian used the heavenly meteor. Its speed was extremely fast and powerful. Clang! The saber and the sword clashed and streaked across the void, creating countless sparks that illuminated the surroundings. This sword strike happened to hit the edge of the opponent's saber, causing it to deviate from its trajectory. However, the long blade still slid past Lin Xian's face, and the cold aura caused all the hair on his body to stand on end. But fortunately, he dodged this killing move. The surrounding people were in an uproar. They continuously cried out in surprise because this saber strike was too dangerous and too exciting. They didn't expect that Lin Xian would be able to safely dodge the fatal blow. In the air, Lin Xian let out a long howl and quickly turned around. Sword chi surged from his hand. Then, he slashed out with his sword, and a sword chi as thick as a mountain instantly slashed forward. Assassin, he met another assassin. He didn't expect that the other party would dare to make a move at this time. It was obvious that the other party wanted to kill him. Therefore, he did not hesitate and quickly attacked to kill his opponent. Fortunately, Zero had warned him. Otherwise, he would have been in danger today. The huge blood-red sword chi slashed forward like a long river of blood. The other party displayed a terrifying movement technique and quickly dodged the sword. However, the two assassins were forced to reveal their figures by Lin Xian. They were two people in black. They wore bronze masks on their faces, and their faces could not be seen clearly. However, one could tell from their figures that they were a man and a woman. Both of them held crescent-shaped sabers in their hands. Their bodies emitted a cold, murderous aura, as if they were gods of death from hell. They did not tangle with Lin Xian. After missing their attack, they quickly flew into the distance. As assassins, they would never fight with their enemies in an open and honorable manner. However, Lin Xian sneered. This time, he did not plan to let them go. In front of him, an ice lotus quickly bloomed. Then, he stepped on the ice lotus and quickly chased after them like a sword god. In the distance, the two assassins' figures quickly faded and then disappeared into the sky. What? They disappeared! Seeing the disappearing figure, everyone was shocked. Then, they looked around and quickly searched. However, what shocked them was that they could not find the other party at all. This made them extremely shocked. How could they fight when they could not even see the enemy's figure? However, when they looked at the sky, they exclaimed. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He flew up quickly and firmly locked in a direction. He kept waving the Lone Star sword in his hand. Sword chi swept out and slashed forward. What? Can he see us? Everyone was shocked. The other party was so fast that they could not even find a trace of him. However, it seemed that Lin Xian could see everything clearly. At the side, Xing Yulong, Murong Qi Shu, and the others were also frowning. Their eyes were as cold as knives, shooting out terrifying rays as they stared at the void. As top experts, the two of them could naturally see clearly. However, the other party's speed shocked them. Seeing clearly was one thing, but whether or not he could keep up with that kind of speed was another matter. However, not only could Lin Xian see them, but he could also catch up. He used the illusory demon steps to increase his speed to the maximum. At the same time, the tempest wings on his back flapped again. On the wings, strange runes kept flashing, providing him with powerful strength. He was like a lightning sword radiance, quickly catching up. With a wave of his hand, the ice lotus under his feet flew out quickly. Then, it grew rapidly and smashed forward like a huge ice mountain. This move was so powerful that it caused the entire void to collapse and countless cracks appeared. At the same time, countless blue auras hung down from the ice lotus. Like a cage, they quickly rolled out in all directions. The terrifying cold aura spread out and slowed down the speed of the two. The blue ice lotus continued to grow and smashed toward the man in black. Countless icy auras rushed toward the other party like ice dragons. The man in black could not dodge and could only turn around to take it head-on. He waved the machete in his hand and slashed out a shocking blade radiance. It was like moonlight, quickly slashing toward the other party. The blade slashed fiercely on the blue ice lotus. A sonorous sound was heard and the whole world trembled. However, this ice lotus was Lin Xian's martial soul. It was extremely powerful and directly sent the assassin in black flying. At the same time, endless icy aura quickly entered the assassin's body and bombarded him continuously. The assassin in black's face changed drastically. In an instant, the machete in his hand and his entire arm were eroded by the icy aura. A thick layer of frost formed, as if it was going to freeze his entire body. With a low shout, endless blade radiance burst out from his body and quickly resisted the icy aura. At the same time, he quickly retreated and fled into the distance. There was no other way. Lin Xian was too powerful. That kind of attack was extremely terrifying. He had no chance of winning if he faced it head-on. Moreover, as an assassin, he was better at moving in the dark and killing with one blow. Thus, since they were unable to kill Lin Xian this time around, they did not plan to attack again. Instead, they decided to quickly flee. Chapter 1036. However, just when everyone thought that the assassination was over, there was another change in the sky. 4 assassins suddenly appeared from 4 different directions, and quickly rushed toward Lin Xian. Each of them held a long saber that was curved like a crescent moon. They quickly slashed out cold lights, completely sealing off Lin Xian's escape route. 4 black-clothed assassins appeared from 4 different directions and rushed toward Lin Xian, completely sealing off Lin Xian's escape route. These 4 people were abnormally powerful. None of them was weaker than the black-clothed assassin from before. Back then, that black-clothed assassin had almost killed Lin Xian, so one could see how terrifying he was. With 4 assassins of the same level attacking at the same time, he was in an extremely dangerous situation. Even a 5th Heaven Venerable would be killed in an instant. The others were even more shocked. They originally thought that the matter was over, but they did not expect such a shocking change to happen. It was obvious that the Chasing Life organization was determined to kill Lin Xian. Otherwise, they would not have sent so many experts. There was no suspense in this situation. No matter who the 4 peerless assassins faced, they would definitely die. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, he could not escape. Therefore, in everyone's opinion, Lin Xian was dead for sure this time. There was no chance for him to escape. However, Lin Xian did not show much panic. Instead, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. This was because he had been warned by Zero and was already prepared for this attack. Therefore, he was not surprised by the sudden appearance of the 4 assassins. The longevity secret art in his body quickly circulated. He frantically absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy. At the same time, he took out the red lotus gloves and wore them on his fists. Facing 4 peerless assassins, he had 2 cards to deal with them. One was the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and the other was the Red Lotus Gloves. However, he did not want to expose the Great Dragon Sword Soul in front of everyone for the time being, so he took out the Red Lotus Gloves. Another reason was that although the Red Lotus Gloves consumed a lot of spiritual energy, it was still better than the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Moreover, it only consumed spiritual energy, unlike the Great Dragon Sword Soul which consumes spiritual energy and soul power. Moreover, Lin Xian believed that the Red Lotus Gloves could solve the problem in front of him. The bright red gloves covered his fists. Lin Xian coldly snorted and quickly punched. This punch was aimed at an assassin in front of him. Boom! A terrifying red fist shadow surged out like a red savage beast. It was extremely terrifying. The assassin in front couldn't dodge at all. In an instant, he was hit by the red fist shadow. Then, his body cracked and turned into a bloody mist. From the punch to the black-clothed assassin's explosion, the whole process happened in an instant. The attacks was so terrifying that it shocked the assassins. Even the assassins in the other 3 directions were frowning. They didn't expect their target to be so terrifying that he could kill their comrade in one go. However, the 3 of them did not stop. Instead, they charged towards Lin Xian at an even faster speed. They didn't believe that Lin Xian could kill all 3 of them at the same time. Lin's Lin is Lin? As long as one Lin Xian. That way, their mission would be completed. Therefore, the 3 of them shouted coldly and sped up again. The 3 full moon scimitars danced in the air, and the terrifying light from the scimitars spread out in all directions. Although they saw their comrade die with their own eyes, it did not affect them at all. The 3 attacks were still aimed at Lin Xian's vital points. It had to be said that the 3 assassins were very powerful. It was obvious how terrifying the life-chasing organization was. It was no wonder that everyone's expression changed when they heard the name. Lin Xian snorted coldly when he sensed the terrifying killing intent from the other 3 assassins. With his current strength, he might not be able to use the Red Lotus Fist Shadow 3 times. Therefore, he had to kill them in one hit. Otherwise, he would be in a dangerous situation. However, under normal circumstances, it was impossible to kill 3 peerless assassins. Even if he had the Red Lotus gloves, he would have to use them 3 times. Not to mention whether Lin Xian could use them 3 times, the problem of time was unsolvable. The 3 assassins were too fast. He might only have the chance to throw 1 punch. However, Lin Xian was not worried. Instead, he smiled coldly. That was because the Red Lotus gloves were not his only trump card. Circulating the spiritual power in his body, Lin Xian quickly used the Blood Shadow Doppelganger from the Blood Sword Inheritance. He used all the qi and blood in his body to create an identical doppelganger. Then, he used the heaven-changing technique and quickly hid in the void. Lin Xian used the 2 ultimate techniques at the same time, causing him to disappear into the void in an instant. His doppelganger remained where he was, acting as bait. Lin Xian was very confident. Both the Blood Shadow Doppelganger and the heaven-changing technique were very mysterious. He believed that the assassins would not be able to discover them. As expected, the 3 assassins did not notice anything unusual. Instead, they continued to rush over quickly. The 3 of them were very fast. In an instant, they arrived beside the doppelganger. Then, the 3 scimitars slashed down quickly. One of the scimitars was aimed at Lin Xian's chest, another at his throat, and the third at his head. All 3 scimitars were aimed at Lin Xian's vital points. They wanted to kill him in one hit. Puff! The scimitars cut through his body. Blood splattered and the smell of blood quickly filled the air. Seeing the blood, the 3 assassins in black smiled cruelly. The people below were shocked. They did not expect that Lin Xian did not dodge and was still killed. Murong Qingshu's eyes flickered. She did not say anything, but she was obviously relieved. Xin Yulong and the Grade 6 Alchemy Inscription Master smiled cruelly. Lin Xian's death was beneficial to them. Moreover, the threat that Lin Xian posed to them while he was still alive was simply too great, causing them to be extremely fearful. Now that Lin Xian was killed by the assassins of the life-chasing organization, they could finally breathe a sigh of relief. On the other hand, Murong Qingchen screamed as her expression changed drastically. Her body slowed down as she tried to rush up as well. This time, the Crimson Dragon reacted quickly. He stopped her and quickly said, "Little girl, don't worry. That's a clone." Hearing the Crimson Dragon's explanation, Murong Qingchen was relieved. However, her beautiful eyes were still fixed on the sky. In the sky, the clone split open quickly and blood splattered everywhere. The 3 assassins in black stood in front of the clone and looked at the scene expressionlessly. In the next moment, the void above them suddenly fluctuated. A figure appeared above them and quickly punched. "What? Lin Xian? Isn't he dead?" Seeing this scene, everyone was completely stunned. They did not expect that Lin Xian was still alive and appeared above the 3 assassins in black. But if Lin Xian is alive, who is the dead one? Everyone was stunned. They could not understand because the sky was filled with blood. Everyone did not understand, but the 3 assassins' expressions changed drastically. Chapter 1037. "Damn it, it's a clone! Let's go!" One of them shouted and turned around quickly. The other 2 felt their scalps go numb as they fled into the distance. "You want to leave? Don't you think it's too late? Since you dared to kill me, you can all stay here!" Lin Xian sneered, and then the terrifying Red Lotus Fist shadow quickly fell. Boom! The sky was filled with red light, and a terrifying power surged down, piercing through the void. The sky was like a wave that kept shaking. The three assassins were unable to escape in the end, and they were all turned into blood mist by the punch. After killing the three assassins, Lin Xian had completely broken through the situation of certain death. He stood in the void and looked around coldly. At the same time, an ice lotus appeared above his head and quickly absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy to replenish his exhausted physical strength. Everyone was shocked when they saw this scene. It couldn't be helped. It was too shocking. The top 4 experts had used their strongest killing move to kill Lin Xian, but they were all killed by Lin Xian in the blink of an eye. Even a 5th Heaven Honorable Realm expert couldn't do this, but Lin Xian did it. After all, Lin Xian was only at the 4th heaven of the Venerable One realm, but he had relied on powerful methods and trump cards to kill 4 peerless assassins. This could no longer be described as shocking. It could be called a miracle. After dealing with the 4 assassins, Lin Xian stood in the void. The ice lotus martial soul above his head spun quickly, absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy to replenish his exhausted physical strength. He wasn't careless. Instead, his expression was solemn because the battle wasn't over yet. He had already killed 5 of the assassins who came to kill him, but there was still 1 assassin left. It was the black-clothed female assassin who had almost pierced his heart. At this moment, the female assassin was trapped by the formation set up by the Crimson Dragon, and couldn't escape for a while. However, it seemed that the formation wouldn't be able to trap her for long. She would probably break out soon. However, this period of time was enough for Lin Xian to recover his physical strength. The black-clothed female assassin naturally knew what was happening in the outside world, and her face became very ugly. With a shout, she waved the scimitar in her hand and quickly slashed out a blade light. The saber chi was shocking. It tore through the sky and slashed forward rapidly. She didn't hold back this time. Instead, she used her full strength. She had no choice but to fight for her life. Lin Xian had killed her companion, so he would definitely make a move on her in the next moment. This time, they had misjudged the target's strength and caused a huge loss. Therefore, no matter what, she had to send the news back. In the sky, the horrifying saber radiance slashed on the array and tore a crack in it. Seeing this scene, the black-clothed female assassin's face lit up. Her body turned into a ray of light and instantly rushed out. "We finally got rid of this damn formation!" The female assassin turned around and glared at the Crimson Dragon with cold eyes. This abominable red snake was not very strong, but its methods were extremely strange. Especially the formation that it had set up, it was actually able to trap her. This made her extremely shocked. One had to know that her movement technique was extremely strange. It was not afraid of any punishment or illusion formation. However, this movement technique was ineffective in front of her opponent. If it wasn't for her powerful strength, she was afraid that she would not have been able to break out of the formation. However, before she could catch her breath, she was greeted by a stunning saber radiance. The saber chi was like a rainbow. It shook the void and quickly slashed toward her. The horrifying saber radiance spread below and instantly tore the ground apart. A mountain was cut in half. Feeling this shocking saber chi, the black-clothed female assassin's face changed drastically. She quickly used her movement technique and shuttled through the void like a fish. At the same time, she waved the scimitar in her hand and slashed out a saber radiance in a half-moon shape to resist the saber radiance. The sound of an intense collision was heard. Sparks flew in all directions as if 2 huge metal mountains had collided. It really made the eardrums of the surrounding people tremble and blood drip from the corners of their mouths. This attack was too terrifying. Even the aftermath was not something that they could withstand. After the attack, the black-clothed female assassin screamed. She was sent flying by the sharp saber chi. Her eyes were filled with shock. However, in the next moment, a sneer appeared at the corner of her mouth. With the help of this terrifying force, she used an extremely strange movement technique and quickly escaped into the distance. It seemed that her goal was very clear. She did not want to fight with Lin Xian. Instead, she wanted to leave quickly. However, Lin Xian was clearly enraged. He did not give her a chance to leave. The ice lotus under his feet spun. Streaks of icy chi surged and quickly merged into the void. Then, countless icicles quickly formed in the void in the distance, intercepting the black-clothed female assassin. At the same time, Lin Xian used the illusory demonic steps and the thunderstorm wings on his back to quickly chase after her. The void trembled. Countless icicles formed in the air like the teeth of a ferocious beast. They were very sharp and pierced toward the female assassin. These icicles were extremely terrifying. There were so many of them that they filled the entire sky. However, the black-clothed female assassin's body fluttered like a ghost. She flickered quickly and dodged the icicles one after another. Then, her body gradually faded as if she was going to disappear between heaven and earth. Everyone was stunned. Even Xin Yulong and Murong Qinshu looked dignified. This was because the opponent's movement technique was too strange. Not only was her speed extremely fast, but it was also unexpected. Every time, she could narrowly avoid the attack. This was definitely not something that could be done with an ordinary movement technique. Rumor has it that the reason why the life-chasing organization is so terrifying is not only because of their decisive killing method, but also because they seem to have mastered a very powerful movement technique. That movement technique allows them to not be afraid of being besieged, formations, and so on. It increases their chances of escaping and greatly increases their chances of assassination. I've only heard about it before. Now it seems that the rumors are true. This movement technique is probably an Earth-rank martial art. Murong Qinshu sighed. Perhaps only an Earth-rank movement technique could achieve this effect. Lin Xian also looked dignified because he realized that the opponent's movement technique was definitely not weaker than the illusory demonic phantom steps. It was obviously an Earth-rank movement technique. Fortunately, he also had an Earth-rank movement technique and the help of the Tempest Wings, which allowed his speed to reach an unbelievable level. Otherwise, if it were anyone else, they would not be able to catch up with the black-clothed female assassin. With a cold snort, Lin Xian opened his 5 fingers and grabbed forward. The concept of wind merged with the ice and quickly attacked, shattering the entire void. At the same time, he waved his long sword and urged the great dragon sword soul to form an indestructible sword chi that quickly slashed forward. This time, Lin Xian used the spring sword. The sword light was like a continuous spring rain, completely covering the entire void. Even if the opponent's movement technique was strange, it was impossible for her to ignore this attack. Sure enough, under Lin Xian's frenzied attack, the black-clothed female assassin was forced out of her body and was forced to retreat. In front of Lin Xian, the movement technique that she was so proud of was ineffective. This made her turn pale with fright and panic. Chapter 1038. Her opponent's methods were too terrifying, especially the ice and sword chi. Not only did the terrifying ice obstruct her, but the cold chi also froze her body, causing her movement technique to be much slower than usual. The sword chi was even more terrifying. Every strike could split mountains, split rivers, and shatter the void. She did not dare to resist at all. That was because she knew that as long as she was hit, she would have no chance of survival. The sword chi in the sky pierced through the clouds, and the entire sky was filled with waves of sword light. The black-clothed female assassin was like a black boat, shuttling through the sword light that filled the sky. She was in danger of capsizing at any time. On the other hand, Lin Xian was incomparably powerful. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and sword chi surrounded his body. He kept waving the Lone Star sword in his hand, and streaks of shocking sword chi swept in all directions. He relied on his powerful attack power to completely suppress the black-clothed female assassin. If not for her strange movement technique and speed, the battle would have been over long ago. However, no matter how fast she was, Lin Xian was confident that he could kill her. He waved the Lone Star sword in his hand again, and the sword chi that filled the sky interweaved to form a powerful sword net that enveloped the black-clothed female assassin. This time, the black-clothed female assassin finally had nowhere to hide. She let out a delicate cry, and her entire body emitted a sharp saber light. She was like a peerless saber that merged with the machete in her hand, and she quickly slashed out. The stunning slash was very terrifying, and it was enough to kill a fifth heaven venerable. However, in the face of Lin Xian's powerful sword net, everything was futile. The two collided, and the entire void whistled. Countless rays of light splattered, and it was a terrifying scene. However, Lin Xian's sword chi was too sharp. Each of them contained the power of the dragon sword soul, and they were incomparably sharp. The sword net formed by countless sword chi was like a heavenly sword that directly shattered the saber light. Boom! In an instant, the black-clothed female assassin was severely injured, and she was sent flying while vomiting blood. The machete in her hand also shattered into countless pieces and scattered in the void. Dragon capturing hand! Lin Xian's black hair fluttered in the wind, and he extended his palm like a fiend god. Spiritual energy surged, forming two true dragon phantoms that roared ferociously. In an instant, the true dragon's palm bound the black-clothed female assassin's body like a chain from hell, firmly trapping her. On the other hand, Lin Xian stepped into the air like a shooting star and quickly arrived in front of his opponent. The Ice Lotus martial spirit rotated and formed countless icy chi that crazily rushed into the assassin's body. It froze her spiritual chi and prevented her from exploding. Then, his soul circulated wildly. Like an invisible hand, it quickly grabbed the other party's head, intending to forcefully search his soul. Lin Xian knew that no matter how he asked, the other party would definitely not reveal any information. Rather than wasting time, he might as well search for it himself. Soul-searching was a rather cruel method, and those who were soul-searched would usually end up in a miserable state. On the other hand, if the fox hunter's soul power was weaker than the other party's, it was very likely that he would suffer a backlash and his life would be in danger. Therefore, most people wouldn't use such a method unless they were extremely confident in themselves, or if the difference in soul force between the two parties was too great, then they would use such a method. Lin Xian's soul power was heaven-defying, comparable to a 7th-grade alchemist. He was confident that his soul power was superior to his opponent's. The other party had tried to take his life several times, which made him really angry. Therefore, he used the soul-searching method. A terrifying soul power entered the other party's mind and quickly searched. Suddenly, the assassin revealed a ferocious expression and let out a miserable cry. Lin Xian was expressionless as he continued to use his soul power. In the next moment, his expression changed greatly. The storm wings on his back flapped rapidly, and countless strange runes bloomed. He turned into a ray of light and instantly flew into the distance. The assassin's body blossomed with light and exploded again. Rumble! The entire void trembled, and a huge black hole quickly appeared. It was pitch black and terrifying, and everything around it was completely shattered. In the end, nothing was left. Lin Xian, on the other hand, looked ahead with a gloomy expression. This time, he had sealed the other party's spiritual chi so that she couldn't explode. However, he didn't expect that there was a special seal in the other party's mind that sealed her spiritual chi. However, when Lin Xian used brute force to assist in the search, he triggered the restriction and caused it to self-destruct. He knew that this was a powerful method set up by the other party's organization. The purpose was to prevent people from soul-searching and revealing the organization's secrets. However, all of this made Lin Xian's expression even more gloomy. The other party's actions were decisive and ruthless, and they were incomparably thorough. They didn't leave any clues. This was definitely a terrifying opponent. Moreover, the other party specialized in assassination and hid in the dark, making it impossible for him to find her. He could only passively defend. It could be said that this caused Lin Xian a lot of trouble. However, the others didn't think so. They looked at the sky and were completely stunned. This female assassin was clearly the leader of this assassination operation. Regardless of whether it was her combat strength or movement technique, she was far superior to the others. Even so, she was still captured by Lin Xian and exploded, leaving not even a bone behind. 6 peerless assassins had used the best opportunity to form the strongest killing blow. However, they had failed. Not only did they fail to kill Lin Xian, but they were all killed. This was probably something that had never happened before. One had to know that Lin Xian was not a peerless expert at the 8th heaven of the Venerable Realm. His cultivation was only at the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Moreover, in the fierce battle with Lu Yio, he had used all his trump cards and consumed a lot of energy. It could be said that he was at his weakest moment. Even so, he still killed 6 peerless assassins. No one had ever heard of such heaven-defying combat strength. Is he really only at the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm? Why do I feel like he's a peerless old demon? Many people looked at Lin Xian, their hearts trembling. Murong Qishu was shocked. At this moment, he had already listed Lin Xian as the most dangerous target. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely not provoke him in the future. As for Xin Yulong and the 6th-grade alchemist, their faces were extremely unsightly. Originally, they were gloating, thinking that Lin Xian was finished and would definitely be killed by the pursuing assassins. In this way, they would have no more worries. However, the result was out of their expectations. Not only did Lin Xian not die, he even killed all 6 peerless experts, completing an impossible reversal of the situation. All of this had completely stunned them. In addition, the relationship between the two sides made their faces even more gloomy. This was definitely their greatest enemy. In the distance, the big shots were also shocked. They originally thought that Lin Xian was on the same level as them because of his special status. However, after seeing this battle, their thoughts were completely overturned. This strength, this combat strength, he was definitely at the top of the younger generation. In addition, with the support of the immortal Martial Academy, Lin Xian's future achievements would not be much weaker than Prince Ling Feng's. In the future, another peerless venerable would appear in the Blood Realm. Of course, the premise of all this was that Lin Xian could survive. Chapter 1039. Lin Xian had killed Lu Yio and offended the Ryu family. He had also angered Prince Ling Feng. They would not let him off so easily. Not only that, but there was also a powerful assassin organization after him. Lin Xian was in a very dangerous situation. Everyone looked at the young figure in the sky with complicated expressions. Lin Xian's eyes darkened as he fell into deep thought. In the sky, Lin Xian frowned and fell into deep thought. In the end, who was it that actually invited such a terrifying assassin organization like Zhe Ming to kill him? He was very confused. He guessed that it was someone from the Vientiane auction, but he had no evidence. However, whether it was the Vientiane auction or not, after this battle, he and Prince Ling Feng had become enemies. He shook his head slightly. He could only leave this matter to Yu Fei. The only thing he could do was increase his strength so that the other party would not dare to make a move. Today, he had killed a rank 6 assassin. Although it seemed shocking, only he knew how dangerous it was. If it were not for Zero's warning, he would not have known about the assassins in advance, let alone dodging their fatal blow. After taking a deep breath, Lin Xian was even more eager to increase his strength. However, the most important thing now was to recover from his injuries. Who knew if there were other assassins nearby? Fortunately, Lin Xian still had Zero as his trump card. Other than him, no one else knew about it. This was the only thing he could rely on to fight against the other party. With Zero's warning, Lin Xian's life was not in danger for the time being. However, he swore that one day, he would find the mastermind behind this and kill him. That included this assassin organization. Anyone who tried to kill him would have to pay the price in blood. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian summoned his Ice Lotus martial soul. He then sat cross-legged on top of it and quickly circulated the immortality chant. He absorbed the spiritual energy around him to heal his injuries and the consumed spiritual energy. This battle was extremely difficult. First, he fought Lu Yio and used all his trump cards. Then, he faced a peerless assassin and almost lost his life. It could be said that every time was extremely thrilling, and the slightest carelessness would result in death. However, although the battle was fierce, Lin Xian had also benefited greatly from it. Fighting with these top experts had increased his combat experience once again, and his understanding of the illusory demonic step had deepened by another level. The other party's ghostly movement technique had given him endless enlightenment. After this, his movement technique would be able to reach the next level. Quickly circulating the art of longevity, Lin Xian absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy to repair the damage to his body. Not long after, he opened his eyes. His injuries and strength had recovered by about 70 to 80%, and his combat strength had recovered once again. Lin Xian had to maintain a strong fighting strength in order to deal with all kinds of sudden situations. The other party was a terrifying assassin organization. They might come to assassinate him at any time. Lin Xian slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and opened his eyes. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, piercing through the void. Feeling that gaze, the surrounding people were shocked. Their eyelids twitched, and fear rose in their hearts. After witnessing Lin Xian's means, they were in awe of Lin Xian and did not dare to mock him like before. Now, no one dared to provoke him. Even the disciples of the Shen family became quiet. They looked at Lin Xian with a trace of deep fear. Seeing that Lin Xian had recovered, Ancestor Qi Yu and the others also walked forward. "Little friend Lin, you have great means. You killed 6 peerless assassins by yourself. This strength is really impressive. I'm afraid that there are not many people in the younger generation who can defeat you. Senior, you're too polite." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. These people were old monsters who had lived for hundreds of years. In front of them, he would not show an arrogant attitude. Seeing that Lin Xian was not arrogant, Ancestor Qi Yu and the others nodded slightly. However, they still reminded him. However, he had to be careful of the Chasing Life organization. After all, they were an extremely terrifying assassin organization and were famous in the blood field. He had to be careful. Lin Xian nodded, indicating that he understood. Next, Ancestor Qi Yu and the others invited Lin Xian back to Crimson Crescent City. As the birthday banquet was not over yet, Lin Xian could not refuse. He followed Ancestor Qi Yu and the others back. Night fell. The sky was incomparably dark, and countless stars twinkled in the sky. In the distance, thousands of beasts roared in the mountains. The sound was terrifying. However, Crimson Crescent City was brightly lit with singing and dancing. It was a lively scene. Lin Xian drank a few cups of wine with a group of important figures in the hall. Then, he found an excuse to come out. The other party were all elders. He had nothing to say there. He might as well come out and eat to his heart's content. After all, the task of inviting them had been completed. However, when the younger generation martial artists saw Lin Xian come out of the hall, they were stunned. Then, the entire place became silent. Even the voices were much softer. Although Lin Xian had a smile on his face and looked harmless, when they thought of the battle during the day, they felt a chill run down their spines. Therefore, when they faced Lin Xian, they no longer had the confidence they had before. Instead, they were filled with respect and fear. At this moment, the disciples of Crimson Crescent City lowered their heads like docile kittens. They no longer dared to cause trouble for Lin Xian. Seeing this, Lin Xian touched his nose helplessly. It seemed that the battle during the day had really frightened these people. Shaking his head slightly, he walked calmly to Murong Qingqing's side. Murong Qingqing had a faint smile on her face. Her gaze was like a gentle hand caressing her cheeks. She snuggled up to Lin Xian's side. The two of them were talking non-stop. The Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey were eating and drinking like crazy. They were very happy. The surrounding crowd had a bitter look on their faces. They did not even dare to breathe loudly when they saw this scene. The banquet didn't end until very late. Everyone was drunk, and they all left one after another. On the second day, Lin Xian stayed with Murong Qingqing for another day. He did not leave until the third day. Murong Qingqing did not follow him back. Instead, she stayed in Crimson Crescent City. It seemed that she had other things to do. Lin Xian went on his way alone. He did not return to the academy. Instead, he flew directly to Windy City. After these few days, the materials that he needed should have been collected. He had to hurry up and let the Crimson Dragon set up the strongest array to defend the entire auction. Otherwise, if something happened during the auction, it would be very troublesome. If that happened, the auction would not be able to continue in the future. The Immortal Martial Auction was backed by Senmu College. Normal people would not dare to cause trouble. However, with Prince Lingfeng's strength, it was not certain. Especially those people from the Vientiane auction. They would definitely come back to cause trouble. Moreover, the people from the Life Hunters would not let this matter rest. Also, the powerful Ryu family was a very powerful force. He had to be careful. Chapter 1040. Therefore, he decided that when the auction was held for the first time, he must apply for a few powerful elders from the school to oversee it. He would never allow anyone to cause trouble at the auction. If someone dared to cause trouble at his auction, he wouldn't mind letting them know the meaning of regret. Even Prince Lingfeng's men were no exception. After a few days, Lin Xian returned to Windy City. Windy City was bustling with activity. Every family was busy building Senmu College. Under such efficient operation, the Immortal Martial Auction was built at an extremely fast speed. Now, more than half of it was completed, and only the final decoration was left. As for the materials that Lin Xian asked for, Wang Li had also finished collecting them. In other words, it was time to inscribe the inscription array. Lin Xian gave the Crimson Dragon the task of inscribing the array and instructed it to inscribe the best defensive array. As for him, he came to a quiet pavilion and prepared to organize his gains this time. In this life and death battle, he had gained a lot of experience and inspiration. Therefore, he needed to go into seclusion to quickly absorb and comprehend these things. Lin Xian's soul revolved, constantly simulating and deducing, strengthening and perfecting his movement technique. He wanted to reach the next level. This seclusion lasted for 3 days. Lin Xian had been simulating in his mind. Finally, he was able to simulate it. His Earth-class movement technique, illusory demon steps, had reached a new level and reached a whole new realm. With a smile, Lin Xian let out a long sigh of relief. Then, he flipped his palm and took out a storage ring. This was a new blue storage ring. There were exquisite hollow patterns carved on it. The whole ring emitted a soft light like a star. This storage ring used to be Lu Yi's storage ring. After Lin Xian killed Lu Yi, he directly took the storage ring. According to his speculation, there must be something good in this storage ring. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian used his soul power and probed it. The first thing that caught his eye was a crescent-shaped bow. It was pitch black and exuded a savage aura. With a thought, Lin Xian opened his palm and took the black bow into his hand. This black bow was the Black Dragon Bow. Back then, Lu Yi had used this Black Dragon Bow to fight Lin Xian to a standstill. Its power was not at all inferior to the Lone Star Sword. It was rumored that the Black Flood Dragon Bow was made from a real flood dragon. It could be said to be incomparably ferocious. Back then, everyone's evaluation of the Black Flood Dragon Bow was that it was absolutely not inferior to a half-Earth step artifact. Looking at it now, it was indeed true. Lin Xian gently rubbed the Black Dragon Bow with his fingers and nodded in satisfaction. In terms of power, the Black Wyrm Bow wasn't inferior to his Lone Star Sword. Moreover, the Black Wyrm Bow was made from a real Wyrm, and it carried a monstrous baleful aura, causing this treasure to become a true weapon of mass destruction. However, the Black Wyrm Bow had already been reserved by the Crimson Dragon. Roussillon said that it was his reward for engraving the defensive array. Regarding this, Lin Xian was very generous, and directly nodded in agreement. As long as the array was engraved, the Black Wyrm Bow would be the Crimson Dragon's. Although the Black Wyrm Bow was good, it wasn't a treasure in his hands. Whether it was the Lone Star Sword or the Red Lotus Gloves, they weren't inferior to the Black Wyrm Bow. Therefore, this thing wouldn't be of much use in his hands. It would be better to give it to the Crimson Dragon. Putting the Black Wyrm Bow aside, Lin Xian became excited again. This time, he quickly searched for something. That day, the reason why Lu Yil was able to engage in a fierce battle with him was because he had countless trump cards. The most shocking trump card was the 9 Revolution Nether Mantra. That was a true Earth-rank martial art. Its power was incomparably terrifying and unimaginable. Lin Xian had 2 Earth-rank martial arts in his hands, so he was very clear about the power of Earth-rank martial arts. This made him even more tempted. However, after searching the entire storage ring, he couldn't find the 9 Revolution Nether Mantra. This made him very disappointed. However, after calming down and thinking carefully, he finally understood. The 9 Revolution Nether Mantra was imparted to Lu Yil by Prince Ling Feng. Such a precious thing couldn't have been given directly. It was very likely that it was passed down orally. Therefore, Lu Yil didn't have the 9 Revolution Nether Mantra. This was very normal. Thinking of this, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Then, he calmed himself down and searched the other things in the storage ring. Other than the 9 Revolution Nether Mantra, there was another thing that made Lin Xian very excited. However, he didn't need to think to know that Lu Lai didn't have the relevant information. That thing was definitely in the hands of Prince Ling Feng. The other party was worthy of being called the top of the younger generation in the continent. He actually had such a heaven-defying treasure in his hands. This made Lin Xian very envious. He quickly transmitted his voice to ask the 10,000 life cauldron spirit. "Zero, do you know about the indestructible golden pill?" "I do. It's a famous pill from the ancient times. It's rumored that consuming one can achieve an indestructible golden body. Even a drop of blood can be reborn." "That's amazing!" Lin Xian's pupils shrank. Then, his breathing quickened. "Then do you know the recipe for the indestructible golden pill?" "I don't." Zero's answer was very straightforward. "That thing was extremely precious even in the ancient times. It was only in the hands of a very small number of powerful people. I don't know the recipe for that pill. However, as far as I know, the Danzong seems to have the recipe for the indestructible golden pill." The Danzong. Hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. The Danzong again. This Danzong must be very powerful. However, what made him even more shocked was that Prince Ling Feng actually had such a heaven-defying recipe. He told Zero about his doubts. After hearing this, Zero was silent for a moment. "It's nothing. If he has the indestructible golden pill, there are 2 possibilities. First, he's related to the Danzong. Second, he might have dug it out from the ancient ruins. Of course, there's also the last possibility. That is, this isn't the indestructible golden pill at all. He just called it the indestructible golden pill, or it's incomplete. Because if it's the real indestructible golden pill, its effects would be even more terrifying. Of course, it's also possible that he's not strong enough to create a complete one. That's all the information I can provide. As for the specifics, you'll have to find out for yourself." Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. However, he knew that no matter what the reason was, the other party had a miraculous pill that could instantly heal a severely injured martial artist. He saw the effect with his own eyes, so there was no doubt about it. It seemed that this Prince Ling Feng was really a formidable opponent. Next, Lin Xian checked the storage ring again. He found that there were many treasures inside. Cultivation techniques, pills, treasured weapons. Everything was available. There were also many precious spiritual medicines. It could be said that this was a small treasure trove. Lin Xian divided up the techniques and pills and prepared to give them to Wang Li, Dong Fangxiong, and the others. Now that he needed a strong backup force, he wouldn't be stingy in terms of resources. As for the spiritual medicines, he kept them for himself. This time, his spiritual medicine trove was rich again. It could be said that it was a great harvest. Chapter 1041. After putting away the storage ring, Lin Xian closed his eyes again and began to adjust his state of mind. Half a day later, he adjusted himself to his peak state and slowly opened his eyes. This time, he was going to make pills. This time, not only did he go to Crimson Crescent City, but he also went to a strange place and obtained a spiritual fruit. It was a spiritual fruit that had been lost for a long time in the outside world, and it was at least 3,000 years old. Therefore, Lin Xian planned to use the spiritual fruit as the main ingredient and combine it with other spiritual herbs to make a pot of spiritual wine. After communicating with Zero, Lin Xian quickly activated his soul power and summoned the 10,000 beast Ding. Then, with a flick of his finger, a crystal-clear spiritual fruit appeared in the air, emitting a rich fragrance. With the 10,000 beast Ding, Lin Shui's efficiency in making pills and spiritual wine greatly increased, and the effect was also much better than before. Soon, a pot of top-grade spiritual wine was successfully made. After drinking a cup, Lin Xian closed his eyes and began to use the immortality chant to refine the energy contained in the wine. Just like that, time slowly passed, and another 5 days passed. The Crimson Dragon hurriedly ran over and shouted excitedly, "Xiao Xuanzi, the array is completed!" Hearing this, Lin Xian stopped cultivating and opened his eyes, a smile appearing on his face. It was finally completed. These defensive arrays would be the greatest protection of the immortal martial auction house. With a whoosh, a red light flashed, and the Crimson Dragon flew in from the outside. He came to Lin Xian's side and quickly shouted, "The array is completed, quickly give me the Black Dragon Bow." "No hurry, I want to check the array first," Lin Xian said with a smile. "Damn, kid, you dare not believe me!" The Crimson Dragon jumped up after hearing this. "I used to believe you, but last time, you sent me to such a dangerous place. I'll check it myself." "What do you know?" the Crimson Dragon said. "Space transmission is the most mysterious transmission array. It's nothing to make a mistake. You have to know that other people's teleportation arrays take years or even decades to complete. For me to complete this kind of teleportation in 1 or 2 days is already a heaven-defying feat. Furthermore, the formation we're setting up this time is a defensive formation. I can inscribe a defensive formation even with my eyes closed. How dare you doubt me?" The Crimson Dragon was very unhappy. However, in the end, under Lin Xian's insistence, the Crimson Dragon accompanied him to look at the defensive formation. Finally, Lin Xian nodded in satisfaction and handed the Black Dragon Bow to the Crimson Dragon. It had to be said that the formations were simply too perfect. Even a 5th or 6th heavenly layer Venerable Realm expert would find it difficult to break through them. Even if the Vientiane auction and the Ryu family came to cause trouble, he was confident that he could defeat them. However, unless there was no other choice, he still did not want to fight during the auction. This was because no matter who won or lost, if there was a conflict during the auction, it would definitely have a great impact on the auction's reputation. This was something that Lin Xian was extremely unwilling to see happen. Therefore, he was prepared to return to the academy and request for some powerful elders to take charge. Of course, all of this had to wait until the immortal martial auction was completed. In the following time, Lin Xian stayed in Wind-Seeking City. He cultivated while waiting for the construction to be completed. Finally, half a month later, the immortal martial auction was completed. Lin Xian quickly got to work and arranged for Wang Li and the others to spread the news of the auction. This was his first auction, so the grander it was, the better. These matters were left to Wang Li, Dongfang, and the others. He quickly returned to Senmu College and prepared to request for a group of elders to take charge. At this moment, the higher-ups of Senmu College were gathered in a grand hall and were discussing anxiously. Ding Xian stood in the middle of the hall, looking around and said in a deep voice, "According to the news from the Palace of Ares, Lin Xian's identity has been confirmed. However, due to the current situation of the Palace of Ares, they could not acknowledge Lin Xian for the time being. However, we have to prepare to support Lin Xian with all our might." Hearing Ding Xian's words, the surrounding elders were shocked. Originally, they were only guessing about Lin Xian's identity, but now that it was confirmed, they were still shocked. They did not expect this person to be in Senmu College. "Since this is the case, how should we support him?" one of the elders asked. "Isn't he setting up the immortal martial auction? How about this? We will fully support this auction and make it the largest auction ever, another elder suggested. Hearing this, Dean Xian nodded. All right, then let's prepare for this auction. We happen to have some things in our hands, and we can use this auction to get them out. Everyone discussed for a while and finally nodded. This matter was considered settled. However, Dean Xian did not leave. Instead, she said, Everyone, that place is about to open again. That place? The elders were stunned. Then, their expressions changed as they exclaimed, What, it's opening again? This time, it's opening so much earlier. Yeah, it hasn't even been 100 years since the last time it opened. I didn't expect it to open earlier than expected. The elders were all extremely shocked. Towards that place, they were all extremely grave and fearful. I don't know the exact reason, but it seems to be related to the seal. However, it is indeed opening. As you all know, although that place is dangerous, there are many treasures inside. It can be said to be a great opportunity. Therefore, we can't ignore it. Moreover, the opening of that place is not only related to Senmu College, but also the entire Tianwu continent. Hearing this, the elders nodded. Clearly, they agreed with Dean Xian's words. How about this? Let's take advantage of this auction to spread the news. It's a good opportunity for the elders of the other factions to come over and we can discuss it together. Everyone discussed quickly. In the end, they decided to leave the matter to the immortal martial auction. However, Lin Xian did not know all of this. He originally wanted to hold a grand auction, but now, it seemed that it was no longer up to him. After Lin Xian returned, the college had already arranged for someone to pick him up before he even went to look for the college. This made him extremely surprised. However, this was also good. It saved him a lot of trouble. Soon, he met with Wang Dianzhu and told him his thoughts. Previously, Wang Dianzhu had said that the college would not send many elders. Therefore, Lin Xian did not have much confidence in this request. However, he did not expect Wang Dianzhu to agree without hesitation. This made him extremely surprised. However, since the other party had agreed, he would not say anything. He just wanted to ensure the safety of this auction. However, what happened next made him widen his eyes and almost bite off his tongue. Chapter 1042. Not only had Wang Dianzhu agreed to send more elders to oversee the auction, he had even taken the initiative to promote it. This made Lin Xian even more surprised. His promotion and the promotion of the immortal martial auction were two different things. Senmu College was one of the top powers in the Tianwu continent. If it promoted the auction, it would definitely cause a stir among countless martial artists. Those big shots would definitely not be able to handle it. Can I ask why? Lin Xian smiled bitterly. This matter was a little out of his expectations. Wang Dianzhu laughed. Since we are collaborating on the immortal martial auction, of course we can't let you handle it alone. Furthermore, we also have some things in our hands that we want to use this auction to sell. As Wang Dianzhu explained, Lin Xian became more and more alarmed. He realized that Senmu College seemed to want to play big this time. The things in Senmu College's hands were definitely not simple. If they could appear in the auction this time, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Therefore, Lin Xian was overjoyed when he heard this news. With Senmu College's support, the news of the auction spread at an astonishing speed. In just a few days, the news had spread throughout the entire Blood Realm. Furthermore, it spread to other parts of the Tianwu continent at an extremely fast speed. Everyone who heard the news was shocked. What was Senmu College? It was one of the top powers in the Tianwu continent. It was an existence on the level of an overlord. Such a terrifying existence actually wanted to hold an auction. Furthermore, they wanted to auction off some of the college's items. This was too shocking. One had to know that anything that Senmu College would auction off was definitely extremely precious. While the crowd was inquiring about the immortal martial auction, another name suddenly entered their field of vision. Lin Xian, a young man, was the owner of the immortal martial auction. Not only that, This auction was jointly organized by him and Senma College. After hearing this news, everyone was extremely shocked. They could not understand what kind of ability this young man had to be able to receive Senma College's support and favor. For a moment, everyone was trying to find out more about Lin Xian. It wasn't just the great halls of the major powers, even the ordinary martial artists were inquiring about it. Visiting the streets, tea houses, taverns, everywhere there were martial artists talking about Lin Xian. Did you know? It's said that this young man, Lin Xian, is very impressive. Although he's only a new student, he managed to become the third most influential person on the mysterious Venerate list within half a year. Freshman? Third on the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. That's too terrifying. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. The students of Senma College were not ordinary people. Every one of them was a genius. To stand out among these geniuses was many times more difficult than in other places. However, Lin Xian had gone from an unknown new student to an influential figure who was ranked in the top 3 of the Mystic Sovereign leaderboard. This leap was simply too shocking. By the way, I also heard that the 3 great factions in the Wind-Seeking City were all eliminated by this young man called Lin Xian. Even the Wanxiang auction was no exception. What? He was the one who did it! I thought it was Senma College. Everyone was shocked. After all, the Wanxiang auction was under Prince Ling Feng. This kid is too bold. Although he's one of the top 3 most influential people in Senma College, isn't he courting death by going against Prince Ling Feng? Courting death? That's nothing. Another martial artist snorted. I just received news that Lin Xian killed Lu Yiol at the birthday banquet in Crimson Crescent City not long ago. What? He killed Lu Yiol? Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe it. Lu Yiol was very famous because he was the peerless genius of the Ryu family, and the Ryu family was one of the 8 great families under Prince Ling Feng. They were extremely powerful. However, Lin Xian dared to attack the peerless genius of the Ryu family, and even killed him. This was simply too shocking. Everyone was shocked. They were extremely shocked. At that moment, another martial artist revealed more shocking news. Not only did he kill Lu Yiol, but he also killed the peerless assassins of the looming life-chasing organization. What? The 6 peerless assassins of the life-chasing organization? Everyone was stunned. They felt as if their brains weren't enough to process it. The life-chasing organization was not a family like the Ryu family. It was a terrifying organization that was even more terrifying than the Ryu family. The 2 organizations were not the same at all. No matter how powerful the Ryu family was, they were still a family. They were still restricted in their actions. However, the life-chasing organization was different. They were an assassin organization that hid in the dark. No one knew where their headquarters were. However, that did not affect their reputation. Back then, 49 peerless assassins chased after a peerless powerhouse of the 8th heaven of the Venerable Realm, and killed him in the end. Such a magnificent feat deeply shocked the crowd. It could be said that the life-chasing organization was like the god of death in the Blood Realm. No matter who was targeted by the life-chasing organization, they would not be able to escape. However, Lin Xian killed 6 of the life-chasing organization's assassins in a row and survived a certain death situation. That was too unbelievable. As the news was revealed one after another, Lin Xian's reputation became more and more famous. Everyone was shocked and puzzled at the same time. They really wanted to know what this powerful young man who was full of miracles looked like. For a time, countless martial artists set off for Wenfeng City to find out what was going on. Meanwhile, the news of Lin Xian and the immortal martial auction spread like wildfire in the entire Blood Realm. However, when the Ryu family heard the news, they were extremely angry. Their family's top prodigy had been killed, which made them extremely mad. Initially, they had wanted to keep the news a secret and secretly kill Lin Xian in order to vent the hatred in their hearts. However, they did not expect that the news would be exposed in such a short period of time. Furthermore, it had spread to the point where everyone knew about it. That was a slap to the Ryu family's face. Now that everyone knew that their family's prodigy had been killed, how could they raise their heads in public in the future? This won't do. We have to kill that detestable kid to vent our hatred. Otherwise, the Ryu family will become the target of ridicule in the future. The Ryu family gritted their teeth. Meanwhile, in a huge and majestic palace, a beautiful woman was so angry that she shattered everything around her. Her actions scared the maids so much that they knelt on the ground. Lin Xian, how dare you kill my brother? I'll tear you to pieces! The beautiful woman's face was filled with killing intent, and her voice was ferocious. She was Lu Yi's younger sister, Lu Mei. The moment she heard that Lu Yi was dead, she was completely stunned. She did not believe that someone could kill her brother. Someone actually dared to kill her brother. One had to know that Lu Yi was very powerful. As one of the top martial artists of the younger generation, he had many powerful trump cards in his hands. No one of the same level could kill him. As for the older generation, they did not dare to do anything. No one dared to disrespect Prince Ling Feng. After all, she was Prince Ling Feng's woman, so no one dared to provoke her brother. However, she did not expect that someone would kill her brother. This made her extremely desperate, and she wanted to tear that person to pieces immediately. Chapter 1043. Lin Xian, so what if you have the support of Senmu College? How dare you kill my brother? I'll kill you! I'll use your head as a sacrifice to my brother! Lu Mei's voice was cold. She had decided to use all her power to kill Lin Xian. On the other side, the remaining martial artists of the Wanxiang auction were so angry that they gritted their teeth. Their faces were ferocious, and their bodies were filled with murderous intent. Damn it, I'm so angry! 6 peerless assassins couldn't kill him? What the hell are those people doing? The people of the Wanxiang auction roared in anger. Sure enough, they were the ones who had hired the life-chasing organization. They had spent almost all their savings to hire the life-chasing organization to assassinate Lin Xian. They had thought that it would be a piece of cake for the life-chasing organization to kill Lin Xian. However, they had not expected the life-chasing organization to fail, twice at that. They could not believe it, and they could not accept it. Although they were Prince Ling Feng's men, they could not let Prince Ling Feng step in directly. Otherwise, this would no longer be a personal grudge. It would very likely escalate to a battle between two top forces. Therefore, Prince Ling Feng would not step in unless it was absolutely necessary. They had to use other forces. However, the assassin organization that they had been relying on was useless now. This made them extremely angry. What should we do? Do we really need to ask the higher-ups for help? No, we can't let the higher-ups do anything. Prince Ling Feng doesn't like to keep useless people around. If we can't do this, it means that we're useless. Then, we'll have no value. An old man shook his head quickly. In the end, it's all because of this damned life-chasing organization. I thought they were powerful, but they couldn't even kill a kid. They even wasted a lot of our wealth. Another middle-aged man snorted. However, a cold voice suddenly came from the void. Who gave you the guts to speak ill of the life-chasing organization behind their backs? The voice was cold and emotionless. It was as if a sharp blade had sliced through the void, sending chills down everyone's spine. Upon hearing the voice, the people from the Wanxiang auction were all stunned. They looked around nervously. In the next moment, the space in front of them rippled, and a black figure appeared before them. It was a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe. He had a sharp aura about him. Although his face was ordinary, his eyes were unusually cold and carried a strong murderous aura. When they saw this figure, the faces of the people from the Wanxiang auction changed. This was because they knew that the middle-aged man in front of them was none other than the life hunters that they had mentioned before. Only those assassins could have such a strong murderous aura. One of the old men sighed. We didn't mean to insult Zhe Ming. We were just a little impatient. The middle-aged man from before snorted coldly. What? You guys are incompetent and failed twice in a row. You don't even allow us to speak. You should know that we paid the spirit stones. We gave you such a large sum of spirit stones, but you still couldn't complete the task. Damn it! At this moment, the black-robed assassin from Life Hunters said coldly, "You don't have to worry about the assassination. That person called Lin Xian is already on our must-kill list. Now, even if you didn't give us the task list, we would still kill him. I'm here to inform you of this matter." Hearing this, the people from the Wanxiang auction were overjoyed. Many of them even looked excited. The must-kill list of the Life Hunters was an extremely terrifying list. No one who had been on the list had survived until now. Now that Lin Xian was also on the list, they believed that it wouldn't be long before he was assassinated. When they thought of this, they revealed sinister smiles. It seemed that the two failures had really angered the Life Hunters. They must have put Lin Xian on the must-kill list to protect their reputation. Otherwise, with Lin Xian's strength, it would be impossible for him to be on the list. This was because those who were on the must-kill list were very famous and powerful martial artists. Seeing the excited expressions of the crowd, the middle-aged assassin from the Life Hunters said coldly, "I'm done with the matter. However, when I came here, I heard that someone dared to slander our Life Hunters. This made me very angry." At the end of his words, the assassin exuded a terrifying murderous aura. It formed a materialized light that spread out in all directions. The entire space suddenly froze. Everyone trembled as if they were being choked by their necks and could not breathe. The middle-aged man from the Wanxiang auction narrowed his eyes and his expression changed drastically. This was because he felt a cold murderous aura locking onto him. In the next moment, his scalp went numb. With a horrified expression, he turned around and fled. However, just as he turned around, a crescent moon light flashed in the air and slashed directly at his head. Puff! Fresh blood spurted into the sky. A human head flew high up into the air before landing heavily on the ground. The middle-aged man from the auction quickly fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, the remaining martial artists' expressions changed drastically. They were all terrified. They didn't expect the black-robed assassin in front of them to kill them. "You!" One of the old men was so angry that his whole body trembled. The assassin slowly put away the crescent moon blade in his hand and said coldly, "Life Hunters will not tolerate humiliation. Anyone who dares to humiliate Life Hunters will disappear from this world. I hope you will keep your mouths shut in the future. Otherwise, you will end up like him." After saying this, the middle-aged assassin's body gradually faded. Finally, he turned into a wisp of smoke and disappeared on the spot. The surrounding martial artists looked at the headless corpse on the ground and felt a chill run down their spines. Lin Xian naturally didn't know that those people had already begun to move. He was very busy now because Senmu College had released another big move. Senmu College was auctioning off a worthless stone tablet. This stone tablet was left behind by a king. Because it was a king from ancient times, it contained the insights of that king during his seclusion. There were even some self-created martial arts techniques. When the news spread, the entire Blood Realm was shocked. Countless powerful venerables were unusually excited. Their faces flushed red. They couldn't wait to fly over and participate in the auction. A king was the most powerful existence on the continent. Moreover, that stone tablet was left behind by an ancient king. For an ancient king, that was even more terrifying. He must have been extremely powerful. Anything left behind by such a person would definitely be extraordinary. Moreover, it was left behind by that king. The things it contained were definitely unimaginable. Therefore, those super experts were all excited. Not only that, but even the ordinary martial artists were extremely shocked. They discussed and screamed endlessly. Damn! Senmu College is really generous. They can actually take out such a precious thing. Yeah, I heard that all the experts in the Blood Realm are excited. Many people have already begun to move. Chapter 1044. Not just the Blood Realm, the entire Sky Martial continent is shaken. The insights left behind by a king are the best in the continent. No matter who obtains it, it will be a heaven-defying fortune. Furthermore, it was left behind by an ancient king. Even the House of Kings cannot ignore it. You are absolutely right. I heard that a few of the House of Kings outside have already started to move. The 6-star sects are also heading there. Once the news was out, everyone was shocked. The House of Kings was one of the most powerful forces in the continent. There were only a few of them in the entire Sky Martial continent. Now, a wordless stone tablet had attracted the House of Kings. This was absolutely shocking news. Lin Xian was also shocked. He did not expect the Academy to take out such a precious item. However, after the shock, he was overjoyed. Once the news was out, the whole world would be shaken. At that time, countless powerful forces and peerless experts would come to participate in the auction. This would definitely make his auction the grandest auction in history. With this kind of reputation, it would be much easier to hold auctions in the future. Lin Xian was also excited. He decided to refine some purple spirit pills and auction them together. As the news spread, countless martial artists started to move towards Wenfeng City. Not only the Blood Realm's major forces, but even the entire Sky Martial Continent's experts came. In a short period of time, Wenfeng City became the center of attention of the entire Sky Martial Continent. A storm was brewing in Windy City, and many experts had arrived. The Immortal Martial Auction was also completed with the final decorations. Originally, the place where the Immortal Martial Auction was located was covered by a huge illusion array. No one could see the situation inside. However, on this day, Lin Xian finally gave the order to remove the illusion array. As the faint light disappeared, a huge palace appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This palace was extremely majestic. It was like a huge mountain standing in the middle of Wenfeng City. This was the newly built Immortal Martial Auction. It was extremely grand and could even accommodate 100,000 people. This auction was much more majestic than the previous Wenxiang auction. There was no comparison between the two. At this moment, all the martial artists in Wenfeng City raised their heads and looked at the huge palace in the middle. Then, everyone exclaimed in shock. What could they do? It was far too spectacular. The entire palace was suffused with a faint purple light. The entire structure was built with purple spirit wood, and could be said to be incomparably solid. The purple light flickered like clouds of purple chi, continuously rolling and enveloping the entire palace. The huge building was richly carved with all kinds of precious beasts, and they were as lifelike as pine trees. How was this an auction? This was simply a heavenly palace. Lin Xian was also very satisfied with the appearance of this auction. He, Wang Li, Dao Fangxiong, and the others climbed to the top of the palace. Standing on top of a tall building, they leaned against the railing and looked down. Suddenly, a sense of ambition and aspiration arose spontaneously. He knew that in the near future, a super auction would be held here. This was going to be an unprecedented golden age. It far exceeded the previous Wenxiang auction, as he knew that the participants of the auction this time were all terrifying figures and peerless experts. This kind of standard was probably rare in the entire Tianwu continent. Then, Lin Xian brought Wang Li, Dong Fangxiong, and the others to carefully inspect the array in the palace. Everyone nodded in satisfaction and excitement. "Oh right, how are the preparations for the auction going?" Lin Xian asked. "Almost done. The main items are all provided by the school. However, we have also promoted it in the school, so many disciples are willing to take out their treasures and auction them. Also, many forces in the blood field are willing to auction here. The quantity and quality are sufficient. Coupled with the few precious items provided by the school, this auction is definitely enough to shock the world," Wang Li said. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded in satisfaction. He was very confident in Wang Li's work. However, in the next moment, he suddenly frowned and looked at the sky, his expression extremely solemn. The crimson dragon also flew out of the demonic beast's pouch with a look of surprise. What a terrifying aura! Then, the wind and clouds changed, and an unusually oppressive atmosphere enveloped Windy City. At this moment, not only Lin Xian, but all the martial artists in the city felt it. Countless people raised their heads and looked at the sky in horror. They did not understand what was happening, but they knew that the aura was too terrifying, enough to destroy the entire Windy City. Fortunately, although the aura was terrifying, it did not carry any offensive power. Otherwise, the martial artists in the city would not be able to withstand it. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, a black shadow floated over from afar like a dark cloud. When the crowd saw the true appearance of the black shadow, their mouths were wide open, and they were dumbfounded. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank, and he took a deep breath. The clouds in the sky rolled, as if a beast was roaring. Suddenly, countless rays of light surged out from the clouds. Each ray was extremely dazzling, like a divine rainbow. Then, the rays of light became brighter and brighter, and finally pierced through the clouds, completely tearing the clouds apart. A huge spiritual boat appeared. It was completely white, and was completely made of high-quality divine jade. It was like a wild beast, breaking through the sky from afar. Along with its arrival, countless rays of light hung down, and a terrifying and suffocating aura came from it. Countless people were terrified because the aura was too terrifying. It must be someone from a super force. Sure enough, in the next moment, the white jade divine boat floated above Windy City and did not land. It seemed to be waiting for something. Lin Xian took a deep breath and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He knew that a big shot from a top force had arrived, but because the auction had not started yet, the other party did not come out. He did not expect that such a big shot would come in advance. It seemed that the temptation of the king's steel was not small. However, what shocked him was that after the white jade divine boat arrived, another terrifying aura descended. In the distance, a terrifying roar suddenly came, shaking heaven and earth. It was like the roar of a wild beast. Hearing that sound, all the warriors in Windy City felt their blood boil, as if it was going to rush out of their bodies. Some of the weaker ones even turned pale and sat on the ground. Under everyone's shocked gazes, countless rays of light flashed, and 9 huge flood dragons appeared in the sky, side by side. Behind them, a bronze chariot that was suffused with divine light was quickly approaching. The 9 flood dragons were huge, and they roared ferociously. They soared through the clouds and carried the shocking power of wind and thunder as they quickly rushed over. At this moment, everyone's expression changed. Even the experts from the Blood Realm who had come before were shocked and terrified. There were only a few days until the auction, so the big forces and experts of the Blood Realm had all come to Windy City. Among these people, there were 6th Heaven Venerables. There were patriarchs of big families and sect masters of powerful religions. They thought that they were big shots above everyone in the Blood Realm. However, at this moment, compared to the other party, they could not be more insignificant. 9 flood dragons pulling a chariot, this method was absolutely heaven-defying. Chapter 1045. 9 Jiao dragons pulling the chariot, this method was absolutely heaven-defying. Those were Jiao dragons. Although they were not true dragons, they still had the blood of the dragon clan. It could be said that they were extremely powerful and were truly terrifying beasts. Even some of the most powerful experts would not be able to fight against it. However, such terrifying beasts were being used to pull a chariot, and there were 9 of them. Just thinking about this scene made people tremble. 9 Jiao dragons pulling a huge bronze chariot, that kind of scene was extremely spectacular. To be able to use 9 Jiao dragons to pull a chariot, it was definitely a peerless figure. Such a person, even if you searched the entire Blood Realm, you would not find many. Only those powerful House of Kings had such courage. The 9 Jiao dragons roared ferociously, their huge bodies filling the space. They also stopped above Windy City and did not land. Everyone looked up at the sky above the city and gasped. However, they were extremely excited. One must know that they did not have the chance to see these big figures on a normal day, let alone such a spectacle. Today, in just one day, they actually saw 2 peerless figures. This was an earth-shattering event for them. Moreover, they believed that as the auction went on, there would definitely be more terrifying figures coming. Lin Xian had already informed Senmu College about what was happening here. The appearance of such a big figure was not something he could handle. He had to invite the elders or hall masters of the college. The college did not delay and directly sent the elders to Windy City. Lin Xian was in charge of everything. Soon time passed. It was less than 3 days before the start of the Immortal Martial Auction. Windy City was very lively, with all kinds of powerful martial artists walking around. The white jade divine boat and the 9 Jiao dragon chariot stopped high in the sky, becoming a spectacle. On this day, the void fluctuated again, and a huge figure covered the sky. It was thousands of miles long, majestic and mighty, coming from afar. It was a huge divine bird with 3 heads, ferocious and terrifying. Wherever it passed, there was a burst of wind and thunder, and the whole void trembled. Along with it was a terrifying and vast aura. It was like a wave that was rolling toward them. Divine Bird Palace! Many martial artists below sucked in a breath of cold air, because in the Tianwu continent, only the Divine Bird Palace had such a powerful and terrifying 3-headed divine bird. Countless people's hearts trembled. They did not expect that another powerful force would descend upon Wind-Seeking City. The huge 3-headed divine bird circled in the air, riding on the clouds. Then, with a few flashes of light, countless powerful figures flew down quickly. In an instant, the cultivators of the Divine Bird Palace landed on the street. They had arrogant looks on their faces as they walked with majestic gait. Each of them exuded a powerful aura, causing the surrounding cultivators to not dare to approach them. Soon, these people disappeared from the streets, leaving behind numerous martial artists who were trembling in fear. However, before these martial artists could come back to their senses, another phenomenon appeared in the sky. A shocking sword light flew over from the distance, splitting mountains and splitting rivers. It was incomparably terrifying, tearing the clouds in half. Terrifying sword chi spread out in all directions. A gigantic heavenly sword appeared in the sky. It was engraved with densely packed inscriptions and emitted a terrifying energy. White figures flew out from the huge sword, like streaks of sword light, instantly rushing down. It was a group of swordsmen. Each of them wore a white robe and carried a long sword on their back. Their expressions were extremely sharp, like unsheathed swords. Deity Sword Villa! Seeing this group of people, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air again. This was definitely a terrifying force. Very swiftly, there were elders from the Immortal Martial Academy who came forth to invite these people in. Next, various powerful forces arrived one after another. Lin Xian followed Wan Dianzhu to receive them. At this moment, golden light flashed in the sky. Countless rays of light condensed, as if a sun had descended upon Wind-Seeking City. That terrifying aura was unbearable to the crowd. So terrifying! What is that? Countless people looked at this scene and their hearts trembled. Under the horrified gaze of the crowd, the golden sun spun quickly and finally formed a figure. It was an old man in a Taoist robe. His body was shining with golden light, like golden feathers, emitting a metallic luster. Taoist Golden Crow! When Wan Dianzhu saw that figure, he did not dare to be negligent and hurriedly went up to greet him. Next to him, Lin Xian was also shocked because he had seen Taoist Golden Crow before. He had seen him refining weapons on the 8th level of the Mountain of Flames. He did not expect to meet him again this time. Taoist Golden Crow revealed his figure, but he did not look directly at Wan Dianzhu. Instead, he frowned and looked at the other side of the void. Seeing this, everyone was puzzled. However, Taoist Golden Crow snorted coldly and said in a cold voice, "Who are you? Who are you? Why are you sneaking around? I hate people like you the most." After saying that, he waved his hand, and countless golden lights gathered. It was as if golden wings streaked across the void. Countless golden lights pierced through the void and flew to a corner of the sky. Everyone was surprised and widened their eyes. They could not understand. That was because there was no one there. Why would the old Taoist do that? However, in the next moment, they understood. Several screams suddenly came from the void that was originally empty. Then, terrifying blood spread and dyed the sky red. 5 corpses dressed in black fell from the sky. Each of them had countless golden feathers piercing through their bodies. Seeing the corpses, countless people cried out in shock. The life chasers! Lin Xian's expression also became very ugly. Needless to say, those people must have come to kill him. However, he did not expect Taoist Golden Crow to attack first and kill them. As the 5 corpses fell to the ground, another figure quickly ran off into the distance like a ghostly wisp of smoke. However, Taoist Golden Crow snorted coldly. He stretched out his palm and grabbed upward like a huge beast's claw. Soon, the illusory figure was knocked out of the void. It was an old man with gray hair. His eyes were like that of the god of death, filled with a terrifying murderous aura. "How dare you touch me? I'm a member of the Life Chasers!" The old man roared ferociously. "Who you are has nothing to do with me! How dare you sneak around in front of me? Only death awaits you!" Taoist Golden Crow snorted coldly. He stretched out his huge palm that flickered with a terrifying golden light and grabbed at the old man. He did not care who the other party was and attacked directly. "Humph!" The old man in black also shouted angrily, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. That aura was too terrifying. It was like a flash flood that made people despair. 6th level honorable realm! Everyone screamed when they felt that aura. Lin Xian's expression also became extremely ugly in an instant. He did not expect the other party to send a peerless 6th level honorable realm assassin to kill him. If Taoist Golden Crow had not suddenly attacked and killed those people, he would have been in danger today. Chapter 1046. It was a very dangerous situation for Lin Xian. Although he was powerful and the leader of the younger generation, he was only at the 4th heaven of the Venerable Realm. Even if he went all out, he could at most fight against the 5th heaven of the Venerable Realm. However, he had no power to fight back against the 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm. It could be said that he would definitely die if the 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm made a move. The surrounding people were also shocked. They naturally knew about the hatred between Lin Xian and Zhui Ming, but they did not expect Zhui Ming to send a 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm assassin to kill Lin Xian. It was definitely a death trap. Even Wan Dianzhu's face was extremely gloomy. Lin Xian was a genius disciple of Senmu College, but Zhui Ming ignored Senmu College and sent such a peerless assassin to kill Lin Xian. This made him extremely angry. Fortunately, Master Golden Crow had made a move, or he would have made a move too. In the void, the black-clothed old man exuded the powerful aura of a 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm. He was like a god of war, looking disdainfully at the surroundings as he resisted the terrifying palm. However, Master Golden Crow snorted disdainfully. "Assassin? I hate assassins the most. Die, die!" In the sky, the golden palm flew out with a flickering golden light. It was like a golden sun as it quickly charged towards the black-clothed old man. This scene was too terrifying. It was as if Master Golden Crow was holding a real sun in his hand and blasting it in all directions. Bang! The two collided without any suspense. Under the horrified gazes of the crowd, the black-clothed old man was forcibly refined by the golden sun and turned into a bloody mist. In the end, all the blood in the sky evaporated, leaving not a trace behind as if it had never appeared. Seeing this scene, the crowd's hearts trembled violently, and their scalps went numb. A strong sense of fear rose from the bottom of their hearts. That was a 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm, an extremely powerful existence. However, he could not even withstand a single move and was forcibly refined into a bloody mist. In the end, not even a trace of blood was left behind. This old man is too terrifying, isn't he? Just who is he? Could it be that a 6th-rank sect leader has made a move? Everyone discussed spiritedly, not daring to believe what they were seeing. It was because this type of method was just too terrifying, too heaven-defying. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he watched this scene. His heart was pounding wildly, and he felt the blood in his body boiling. This was a true peerless expert. To be able to kill a 6th-layer martial venerable assassin with a single move, Yichen didn't take the other party seriously at all. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely excited. He knew that this was his true goal. Taking a deep breath, he calmed the excitement in his heart, and his eyes flashed with a shocking light. Because he believed that one day, he would also reach such heights. Wang Dianju's expression was also solemn. He moved and quickly took Taoist Golden Crow away. Knowing that the terrifying figure had disappeared, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They found that the clothes on their backs were completely soaked, as if they had gone through a great battle. Who exactly was that old man? However, it was so terrifying that it could kill a 6th heaven venerable in one move. Taoist Golden Crow, he is Taoist Golden Crow, someone said in a trembling voice. Are you saying that he's the peerless demon who has lived for more than 1,000 years, the powerhouse of the Golden Crow clan? Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't expect that such a powerful old man was not a human, but a demon. Not only that, he was from the Golden Crow clan, which was very powerful among the demons. No wonder he was so terrifying and domineering that he didn't take the life-chasing organization seriously at all. The Golden Crow clan was extremely terrifying. They were an existence that could contend with the human House of Kings, so why would they take an assassin organization seriously? After knowing the other party's identity, everyone was shocked. Taoist Golden Crow attacked the life-chasing organization. Could it be that he was protecting Lin Xian? Everyone guessed. If that was the case, then the news was too terrifying. No, it doesn't look like it. He probably doesn't like people hiding around him, a martial artist said. Hearing that, everyone was speechless. Just because he hated the other party's actions, he banned all the assassins of the life-chasing organization in one move. That was too domineering and arrogant. However, no one dared to say anything because he had the right to be domineering and arrogant. The people from the Vientiane auction were also in the crowd. When they saw this scene, they were so shocked that their jaws dropped. They didn't expect the life-chasing organization to send a 6th heaven venerable realm assassin to kill Lin Xian. However, what was even more unexpected was that these assassins were mercilessly killed before they could even make a move. The reason was that the other party didn't like people hiding around him. Needless to say, these assassins were too unlucky. Damn it, that kid's luck is so good. He actually dodged that fatal attack. The people from the Vientiane auction looked ferocious as they gritted their teeth. Originally, Lin Xian would definitely die if a 6th heaven venerable realm assassin attacked. But now, all their plans were in vain. Let's go, we can't stay here any longer. There are too many big shots around him. If we attack now, it's tantamount to courting death. The people from the Vientiane auction retreated. Although they were unwilling, they didn't dare to joke about their lives. A group of people quickly escaped among the crowd. They weren't the only ones who were shocked. The people from the Ryu family were also shocked. When they saw this scene, their eyelids twitched violently. Elder, what should we do? Do we still follow the original plan? A middle-aged man asked. The leader of the group was a grand elder from the Ryu family. When he heard this, his eyelids twitched violently. Cancel the plan. Don't attack. There are too many big shots. If we anger any of them, we won't be able to resist. Let's wait until the auction is over. The grand elder of the Ryu family immediately cancelled the plan to assassinate Lin Xian. He was really scared. Even a 6th heaven venerable realm assassin was killed in one move. He didn't dare to take the risk now. If Lin Xian had someone like that by his side, he would be dead for sure. For a moment, those who wanted to kill Lin Xian all hid themselves and didn't dare to show their faces. However, none of this escaped Lin Xian's eyes. Brother Xian, I've found out that the people from the Vientiane auction and the Ryu family have all come to Windy City. Also, according to various signs, this group was invited by the Vientiane auction, Yufei quickly said. He'd entered the Venerable Realm a long time ago. Moreover, he'd relied on his outstanding intelligence-gathering skills and the enormous resources in Lin Xian's possession to establish an intelligence network that was beginning to take shape. He didn't dare to say anything about other places, but in Windy City, nothing could escape his eyes. Therefore, he knew everything about the Vientiane auction and the Ryu family. Send someone to keep a close eye on them. Be careful, don't make a move on the Ryu family. As for the Vientiane auction, let Dong Fang take care of it with a group of people, Lin Xian said coldly. Chapter 1047. The other party had sent an assassin organization to assassinate him multiple times. This time, it was even more dangerous. They had sent a 6th-rank venerable. If not for the special circumstances, he would have been assassinated by now. He would not show mercy to such an enemy. As for the Ryu family, he would not let them off if they dared to make a move on him. However, now was not the time. Yu Fei received the order and quickly left. He was preparing to send people to monitor the two parties. Dong Fangxiong led an elite team from the Dragon Sword Pavilion to cooperate with Yu Fei. After giving the order, Lin Xian did not pay any more attention to them. He focused all his attention on the auction. He was originally worried that the Ryu family and the Life Hunters would cause trouble. However, it seemed that this worry was completely gone. The lineup for this auction was too strong. The peerless powerhouses of the various factions were all present. Without Lin Xian saying anything, no one would dare to cause trouble here. Whoever made a move here would become the enemy of the various factions. Finally, the immortal martial auction began under everyone's anticipation. Above Wind-Seeking City, on the huge white jade divine land and the 9 dragons war chariot, 2 important figures entered the immortal martial auction under the invitation of the Senmu College elder. The huge palace emitted a faint purple light and emitted a dreamy color. The peerless powerhouses of the various factions were led into the auction by the Wandian Zhu. Lin Xian was in charge of the younger generation. Of course, Lin Xian was not receiving ordinary people. He was receiving the younger generation of the various factions. During this process, he met the Shen family's disciple again. This time, other than Xin Yulong and the 6th-rank alchemy inscription master, there was another young man. The young man was handsome. There was a heroic spirit between his eyebrows. His every move exuded an extraordinary aura. Lin Xian realized that even the 6 alchemy inscription masters were standing behind this person. Lin Xian was very surprised to see this. However, he didn't care. No matter who the other party was, they wouldn't dare to behave atrociously in this auction. When Xin Yulong and the 6th-grade alchemy inscription master saw Lin Xian, their faces immediately darkened. "Oh, I didn't expect to see you again, the 2 geniuses of the Shen family," Lin Xian said as he looked at Xin Yulong and Xin Yulong. Hearing the word genius, Xin Yulong and the gloomy youth's faces darkened. When others called them geniuses, they would feel proud and complacent. However, when Lin Xian called them geniuses, they felt like they were being mocked and despised. It couldn't be helped. Lin Xian was too heaven-defying. Whether it was strength or talent, he was stronger than them. Xin Yulong snorted coldly, his expression extremely gloomy. The 6th-grade alchemy inscription master's expression was even gloomier. He said coldly, "Don't be so smug. Aren't you just relying on Senmu College's background to open an auction? What's there to be arrogant about?" Although he snorted coldly, there was a strong sense of jealousy in his words. "Opening an auction isn't a big deal, but you probably won't have the chance to do so in your lifetime." Lin Xian shrugged. "Moreover, you seem to be inferior to me in terms of alchemy, right?" "You." Hearing this, the gloomy youth trembled in anger. However, he soon sneered. "Humph, who knows if you refined that 7th-grade pill yourself? Maybe it was refined by an elder of Senmu College, and you just pretended to be him. Don't think that your alchemy skills are unparalleled in the world. In my opinion, there are many people who can trample you to death. There are indeed many people, but you are not one of them." Lin Xian shrugged, looking indifferent. Hearing this, the gloomy youth had the urge to vomit blood. At this moment, the handsome youth beside him who had been silent all this time suddenly spoke. "You're Lin Xian?" He stood with his hands behind his back, looking arrogant. "That's right, it's him." Before Lin Xian could speak, the 6th grade alchemy inscription master beside him gritted his teeth and said. Hearing this, the handsome youth nodded. Then, his eyes focused and an inexplicable power surged out of his body, surging towards Lin Xian. Feeling this power, Lin Xian frowned slightly, and his face darkened. This was because he could sense that this was the power of the soul. Moreover, it was an extremely powerful soul force. This soul force far exceeded that of the gloomy youth beside him. To be able to reach this level of soul force, it was definitely not simple. His soul force is very strong, but it doesn't seem to have reached the standard of a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. This strength is at the peak of a 6th grade alchemy inscription master, but compared to me, it's too far away. The handsome youth shook his head. Hearing this, Xin Yulong and the gloomy youth's expressions changed. Then, they revealed joyful smiles. I knew it. How could he be a 7th grade alchemy inscription master? Now it seems that he really isn't. That's right. Refining a 7th grade pill? As expected, he's full of nonsense. In my opinion, that pill wasn't refined by him at all. The two of them looked at Lin Xian with sneers on their faces. At this moment, the handsome youth spoke again. Kid, you can't be too arrogant. Especially on the path of alchemy, you should tuck your tail between your legs. You should know that there are many people who are more outstanding than you. At least compared to me, you're nothing. The handsome youth's face was full of arrogance. He didn't put Lin Xian in his eyes at all. The gloomy youth sneered. Of course, with Brother Tianyu making a move, he definitely won't be a match for you. Kid, in front of Brother Tianyu, you're nothing. However, the handsome youth shook his head. Unless it's a 7th grade alchemy inscription master, there's no one worthy of me making a move. After saying this, he directly walked into the auction house without looking at Lin Xian again. Seeing the handsome youth walk in, Xin Yulong and the gloomy youth sneered and quickly followed. Looking at the three figures, Wang Li gnashed his teeth in anger. Who do they think they are? They actually dare to be arrogant in front of Brother Xian. Yeah, Brother Xian, why don't you teach them a lesson? Look at that kid's arrogant attitude. Those who don't know would think that he's a pill king. The other Dragon Sword Pavilion disciple also had a face full of anger. Lin Xian's face was also gloomy. The other party was too arrogant. However, he didn't act blindly without thinking. From the soul force test just now, he knew that the other party's soul force was very powerful. It had already reached the level of a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. This was definitely a powerful opponent. Don't underestimate him. He should be a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. Lin Xian slowly said. A 7th grade alchemy inscription master. Him? Wang Li and the others were shocked. They sucked in a breath of cold air. They didn't expect that the handsome youth was actually a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. They couldn't help but be shocked. After all, 7th grade alchemy inscription masters were extremely rare and precious. Every single one of them was a VIP that various powers would fight over. Most 7th grade alchemy inscription masters were old monsters that had lived for hundreds of years. It was rare to see a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. And the handsome youth from before was also a 7th grade alchemy inscription master. No wonder he was so arrogant. Chapter 1048. Brother Xian, are we just going to let him continue to be arrogant? Wang Li and the others were unconvinced. Don't worry. If he comes looking for trouble, I'll let him know that a 7th grade alchemist is nothing. Lin Xian's mouth curled into a sneer. Seeing this smile, Wang Li and the others breathed a sigh of relief and smiled. Looking at the situation, Lin Xian didn't seem to be afraid of the 7th grade alchemist. Let's go. The receptionists are almost here. I think the auction should be starting soon. Lin Xian looked at the time and said in a deep voice. Then, they also walked into the auction house. After entering the auction house, Lin Xian directly went to the 3rd floor. There was a VIP room there that was specially built for him. Because from there, he could clearly see every scene in the auction, taking in everything in a panoramic view. After entering the special VIP room, Lin Xian looked down through the huge crystal glass. The entire main hall was filled with a sea of people. The black mass of heads was everywhere. The 100,000 seats were all filled. In addition, every VIP room was filled with important figures. Damn, that Taoist golden crow really came! Wang Li looked down and said with a face full of fear. Sure enough, Lin Xian saw the old Taoist golden crow sitting in the middle. The warriors around him were also strong, but at this moment, in front of the old Taoist golden crow, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This old Taoist golden crow is definitely here for the throne stone tablet. The corners of Wang Li and the others' mouths twitched. Although there were many rare treasures in this auction, there was no doubt that the King's Stone tablet was the final treasure. Lin Xian looked down and was also surprised. That old man can't be an elder of the Shen family, right? His eyelids twitched wildly. He was very shocked because that old man was too terrifying. There were 108 shining halos behind him, like a Buddha. Lin Xian had seen this kind of cultivation technique on Xinyaotian, but compared to this old man, it was like the difference between a firefly and the moon. The terrifying old man was escorted into the VIP lounge by a group of people. F***CK, look at that guy, he actually has 3 heads. Wang Li rebuked a figure below who was walking with a majestic gait. They are from the Divine Bird Palace. Lin Xian's gaze was slightly gloomy. He had some conflicts with this sect before. Back then, he had killed many disciples of Divine Bird Palace. He thought that this sect was nothing, but now it seemed that it was not so simple. There was definitely a reason why the other party could become a powerful rank 6 sect. Just the strength of the few people below was too terrifying. Although it was said to have 3 heads, it was actually 1 human head and 2 divine bird phantoms. However, the illusory image was too solid, as if it was real. These 3 heads contained the power of wind, fire, and lightning respectively. Lin Xian could even feel the power of his martial soul from the 3 heads. Could it be the triplet martial soul? Lin Xian's eyelids twitched when he thought of this possibility. If his guess was correct, then the expert of Divine Bird Palace was absolutely heaven-defying. A group of people from the Divine Bird Palace also walked into a VIP room in a grandiose manner. At this time, Lin Xian's gaze also moved away from the expert of Divine Bird Palace and looked in another direction, because he felt a sharp sword qi. The qi was too strong, as if a peerless divine sword had appeared in the world. Who is that middle-aged man? So terrifying! Next to him, Wang Li said with a frightened face. Just looking at the other party caused his eyes to hurt, and his body felt like it was being split open. It should be the people of Deity Sword Villa, Lin Xian said. In the Tianwu continent, he could not think of a second sect that had such a strong sword qi except for Deity Sword Villa. Looking at the figure, Lin Xian was moved, and he felt that the great dragon sword spirit in his body was unusually loud. Taking a deep breath, he operated his mysterious art and suppressed the great dragon sword spirit. The other party was too terrifying, and he did not deliberately adjust his qi. Just the aftermath of the overflowing qi could cause the great dragon sword spirit in his body to fluctuate, which was absolutely shocking. One by one, the big shots walked into the auction and then entered the VIP lounge. Soon, Lin Xian saw that Murong Qingqing had also arrived, along with Ancestor Qiyu. However, these people were accompanying an old man with a head full of white hair. The old man bowed with his hands behind his back, as if he was an ordinary old man, and there was no trace of abnormality. However, Ancestor Qiyu followed behind him very respectfully. This was enough to show that the old man was extraordinary. When all the experts entered the VIP lounge, the entire auction was very lively. Dong! A low and deep voice rang out, echoing throughout the auction hall. Suddenly, the entire auction quieted down, and countless people looked forward in anticipation, because they knew that the auction was about to begin. At the front, there was an auction stage made of 1,000-year-old purple spiritual wood, and there were 2 true dragons carved on it. They were circling each other, fighting for a dragon pearl. The entire auction stage was emitting a faint purple light, which was abnormally gentle and emitted a mysterious power. An old man with a sage-like demeanor walked up to the auction stage and looked around with a smile. Lin Xian had seen this old man before. He was an elder of the 10,000 Treasure Hall, and he was invited to host this auction. 12 beautiful girls were divided into 2 rows, and each of them held a wooden box made of purple spiritual wood, which was covered with a red cloth. Obviously, these 12 wooden boxes contained the items that were going to be auctioned. The items that were going to be auctioned at the beginning would not be too precious, so the big shots did not take a fancy to them. However, these items were not ordinary, and one could tell from the reactions of the ordinary warriors. The old man with a sage-like demeanor was obviously an expert at auctioning. With just a few words, he had stirred up the atmosphere of the auction. Soon, 3 items were successfully auctioned off, and the atmosphere of the auction was completely livened up. The auctioneer looked at the lively hall, smiled, and said in a clear voice, "The next item to be auctioned is a type of elixir, which was refined by an outstanding disciple of our school." Hearing that the elixir was refined by a Senmu College disciple, the big shots immediately lost interest. In their opinion, what kind of elixir could a little disciple refine? However, in the next moment, they were in an uproar because the auctioneer continued. This elixir was called the Purple Spiritual Elixir, and it was a 7th-grade elixir. Its effect was very special. It could allow a warrior to enter an ethereal state. In this state, a warrior could repair and perfect his martial soul. What? A 7th-grade elixir? Repair a martial soul? Hearing this, all the warriors in the hall were completely shocked, and then all kinds of noisy discussions broke out. No way, isn't this an elixir refined by a disciple? How could it be a 7th-grade elixir? Did I hear wrongly? Yeah, this is too unbelievable. Why do I feel like it's not real? It can even cultivate a martial soul. Is there really such a magical elixir? Everyone was discussing, and they did not believe it. Chapter 1049. At this moment, the auctioneer said indifferently, "Everyone, my Immortal Martial Arts Academy has a reputation. Do you still need to doubt it?" Hearing this, everyone's hearts were completely at ease. That's right, this is Senmu College, one of the top forces in the Tianwu continent. How could they lie? After confirming the authenticity of the information, these people became excited again. Their eyes were burning with excitement. They had never heard of a pill that could improve one's martial soul. However, just by listening to the effects, they knew that this thing was extremely rare. Not only the warriors, but even some experts at the 5th or 6th heaven of the Venerable Realm were excited. They quickly bid, wanting to buy this pill. 40 million! 50 million! Don't fight, I'll pay 80 million! F***CK, you want to buy this pill with 80 million? Dream on! I'll pay 100 million! Everyone competed and raised the price. Moreover, the ones who bid were some of the older generation experts. The younger generation looked at each other with bitter smiles on their faces. The corners of their mouths twitched slightly. They realized that they could not interfere at all. Looking at this fiery scene, Lin Xian smiled. He knew that the purple spirit pill's effects were very good, but he did not expect it to be so popular. The older generation experts acted as if they had been injected with chicken blood and crazily bid. Wang Li was also extremely excited when he saw this scene. I originally thought that it was only the younger generation who were tempted, but I didn't expect the older generation to bid so crazily. This was normal. In fact, these older generation experts were the ones who really needed the purple spirit pill. Because their cultivation had reached a certain height and reached a bottleneck, it was very difficult for them to advance further. Moreover, they were not young anymore. Some of them had even lived for hundreds of years. It was obvious that their talent had reached its limit. Unless they had a fortuitous encounter or a heavenly treasure, they would not be able to advance further. Now that there was such an opportunity, how could they give it up? In the end, the pill was sold at the price of 300 million mid-grade spirit stones. Lin Xian had refined a total of 3 purple spirit pills, and he had bought them separately. Therefore, the price of the remaining 2 pills did not decrease but increased by a lot. The second pill was sold for 350 million mid-grade spirit stones, and the third pill was even more shocking, reaching 400 million. This made Lin Xian extremely shocked. In such a short time, more than 1 billion yuan had already entered his account. This kind of money-making speed could be said to be godly. Lin Xian was in a good mood. At this time, on the auction stage, the auctioneer laughed again. The next item to be auctioned had an extraordinary origin. It was an ancient artifact. An ancient artifact. Hearing this, everyone's interest was piqued. Even the big shots in the VIP rooms were surprised. Seeing the crowd's reaction, the auctioneer smiled. Then, he clapped his hands, and 6 girls walked out from behind. These 6 girls were not weak, but at this moment, they looked very strained. With every step he took, the ground shook slightly. Seeing this scene, everyone was surprised. They all stretched their necks and looked forward. It was a pagoda with a total of 6 levels. It was completely black, but looking at it now, it was indeed dim. There were even some damages on the surface. Incomplete? Many people looked disappointed when they saw the damaged pagoda. The VIPs in the VIP rooms, in particular, immediately lost interest. Some people were even dissatisfied. How could a damaged item be auctioned? That's right, what's the use of such a thing? Everyone was dissatisfied. However, the auctioneer was not displeased at all. Instead, he said with a smile, "Everyone, don't jump to conclusions. This is an ancient artifact. Even if it's an ancient artifact, it's still broken. I'm afraid its effect is not as good as a mid-grade spirit-grade artifact." Many people still shook their heads. However, some of the older generation people looked suspicious because the auctioneer had mentioned an ancient artifact twice in a row. Could it be that there was something special about this pagoda? Could you explain in detail? One of the older generation people asked. Hearing this, the auctioneer smiled and continued. This pagoda was found in an ancient ruin. The ancient ruin was very old, at least 10,000 years of history. 10,000 years! Hearing this, everyone was shocked. This was not a short period of time. In fact, it could be said to be very long. One had to know that a king could only live for 3,000 years at most. One could imagine how long 10,000 years was. So, everyone went silent when they heard this, and they listened carefully. The auctioneer continued. We've confirmed that this pagoda was refined by an expert who was half a step into the king realm. There are extremely profound inscriptions within the pagoda, and these inscriptions are all ancient inscriptions. Everyone was shocked when they heard the auctioneer's words. Half a step into the king realm. Such a figure was extraordinary. After all, king realm experts were the overlords of the heavens and the earth. There were only a few king realm experts in the entire Martial Sky continent, and no new king realm experts had appeared in the last few thousand years. So, it was obvious how difficult it was to become a king realm expert. Half a step into the king realm was sufficient to prove the terrifying natural talent of that person. So long as nothing unexpected happened, that person would become a true king realm expert in the end. This kind of person was absolutely shocking and brilliant. So, the treasured artifact refined by that person was definitely a shocking treasure as well. At this moment, it wasn't just the ordinary cultivators who were shocked, even the great figures in the VIP rooms couldn't maintain their composure. Although they were great figures, they were still very far away from the king realm. They didn't even know if they could touch that boundary in their lifetime. But now, if they could obtain a half-step king realm treasure, they might even have a chance to comprehend the inscriptions within it. Since they had a chance to approach the king realm, just thinking about it made them excited. Because becoming a king realm expert was the wish of every cultivator. So, those great figures couldn't sit still and made their moves. 300 million. The Shen family bid. 500 million. The deity sword villa bid quickly. 700 million. This was an expert from the deity bird palace. Most of the cultivators' expressions changed when they heard this price. It couldn't be helped. This price was too terrifying. It was in the hundreds of millions. Not many people could afford such a price. Those cultivators smiled bitterly because they didn't even have the chance to bid. Lin Xian was also shocked. He didn't expect such a precious item to appear so quickly. Moreover, these prices were really too high. Looking at the price, it wasn't lower than a half-Earth rank treasure at all, and it might even be higher. The great figures from the House of Kings bid a few times and didn't say anything else. Because there were true kings in their clans, they weren't too excited about the treasures of a half-step king realm treasure. However, it was different for the others. After all, there were only a few members of the House of Kings, and the others didn't have the chance to comprehend a king realm treasure. Especially those sixth-rank sects, all of their eyes were red with greed. Their forces were powerful, and they were only inferior to the House of Kings. If they could obtain this treasure, then perhaps a true king realm expert would appear in their sections. At that time, they wouldn't be sixth-rank sects, but king realm sects. Chapter 1050. The sixth-rank sects were all envious. They were very powerful, second only to the House of Kings. If they could get their hands on the pagoda, a true king might appear in their sections. By then, they would no longer be sixth-rank sections. They would directly become king sects. That was because the broken pagoda might determine whether they had the chance to become kings. Therefore, it was a great opportunity for them. No one could resist the temptation. Therefore, at that moment, the big shots of the sixth-rank sects were all red-eyed and went crazy. In the end, the broken pagoda was bought by the deity Sword Villa at a price of 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. That price was even more expensive than when Lin Xian bought the Lone Star Sword. That was only a broken pagoda. One could imagine how much it would cost if it was a complete pagoda. That was a king. Anything that was related to him was a treasure that defied the heavens. In the VIP room, Lin Xian was shocked when he saw that. He did not expect the college to auction such a precious item. That was really a big deal. Perhaps only a top force like Senma College could have such a background. On the purple spiritual wood stage, the auctioneer nodded in satisfaction. Finally, he said loudly, "The next item to be auctioned is also extremely precious. It can be said to be extinct." Extinct? Hearing this, everyone was stunned and showed an interested expression one after another. Because of the previous experience with the pagoda, everyone was very confident about the auction. Since the auctioneer said that it was extinct, it might really be extinct. What exactly was it? Why was it so mysterious? Extinct? Could it be some kind of spiritual medicine? Someone asked doubtfully. Sure enough, when that was said, many people nodded and discussed. Of course, some people said that it was some kind of cultivation technique. In any case, the entire auction house once again fell into an intense discussion. Lin Xian was also surprised. He frowned slightly and wondered what the extinct item was. The auctioneer took a deep breath, took out a wooden box, and gently rubbed it. Then, he slowly opened the wooden box. Immediately, a strong fragrance surged out and filled the entire hall. What's this smell? It smells so good. Even the bigwigs in the VIP rooms sat up straight when they smelled the fragrance. They looked ahead with solemn expressions. Inside the wooden box, there was a stalk of spirit medicine. It was only the size of a palm and had a strange shape. Its entire body was emitting a stream of light. This is... Seeing the elixir, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He was too shocked. Because he had seen this thing before, and he had just seen it. It was in that mysterious underground world that he had seen this plant. At that time, the Crimson Dragon had wanted to pluck it, but it had caused a lot of trouble. But he didn't expect to see it again at this auction. This was too inconceivable. One had to know that the underground world was extremely terrifying. Everywhere was filled with shocking, murderous intent. There were even terrifying 1,000-year-old zombies. It could be said to be a forbidden area. Moreover, that place had been buried underground for thousands of years. No one knew about it at all. But he didn't expect Senmu College to know about that place, and even get the elixir from there. Lin Xian was amazed. Indeed, this was an extinct elixir. To be honest, we haven't studied what kind of elixir this is because there are no records at all. But it contains such an astonishing amount of energy. It's definitely rare, said the auctioneer elder. It was a never-before-seen elixir. Hearing that, everyone was shocked and excited. That was because they could feel the rich energy aura on it even without the auctioneer elder's explanation. However, someone soon raised a question. Why would such a precious elixir be auctioned? Yeah, even the bigwigs are puzzled. This was different from the broken pagoda. That pagoda might have been studied by Senmu College a long time ago. It was useless to keep it in their hands. However, the elixir was different. It would only be effective if it was swallowed. Moreover, if one was extremely lucky, they could even wait for the seeds to be planted again, allowing the extinct elixir to reappear in the world. However, they soon understood. That was because the auctioneer elder sighed slightly and said in a deep voice, "To be honest, although this elixir is unique, it also has flaws. Please take a look." With that, the auctioneer elder waved his hand. A gentle light lifted the elixir and floated it into the sky. Suddenly, everyone saw the whole situation clearly. The top of the elixir was intact, but there was no root at the bottom. Seeing this, many bigwigs shook their heads and sighed. This situation disappointed them because they originally wanted to buy it and take it back to their families to plant. Perhaps they could grow another elixir. But from the looks of it now, that was simply impossible. Because without the root, this elixir could not survive, let alone reproduce. Moreover, the root contained a lot of essence, but now it was missing. However, this surprised them even more because the elixir without the root still had such powerful energy. This was simply too inconceivable. At this time, the auctioneer elder put away the peerless elixir again and said in a deep voice, "The starting price is 1 billion spirit stones." 1 billion! Everyone gasped. This price was too heaven-defying. It was comparable to a half-Earth rank treasure. Moreover, this was only the starting price. Who knew how high the final price would be? After the auctioneer elder finished speaking, someone made a bid. 1,100,000,000. It was the Divine Bird Palace who made the bid. The middle-aged powerhouse's voice was cold. 1,500,000,000. A loud voice sounded with scorching energy. Everyone's hearts palpitated as they looked at the center because it was Taoist Master Golden Crow who made the bid. The middle-aged powerhouse from the Divine Bird Palace also frowned slightly. His gaze was as sharp as a blade as he looked at the center. Taoist Master Golden Crow snorted coldly without fear. Everyone was shocked. These two were both powerhouses of the Demon Clan. Taoist Master Golden Crow was needless to say. Just a few days ago, everyone witnessed his strength with their own eyes. He was a powerful existence who killed a 6th-level venerable with one move. The Divine Bird Palace was also incomparably powerful. After all, they were a 6th-rank sect, an existence second only to the House of Kings. What was more coincidental was that both of them were from the Demon Bird clan. At this moment, the two of them were competing, which was quite shocking. However, this scene did not last long before it was broken because the bigwigs in the VIP rooms had made their moves. It could not be helped. Many of these bigwigs were elders with white hair and were very old. Some of them were even close to the limit of their lives. It could be said that they did not have much time left. Now, this peerless elixir contained powerful energy that might allow them to live for a few more years. No one wanted to die, and these bigwigs were no exception. Therefore, in the face of such temptation, these people could not remain calm. Chapter 1051. Among them, some were already nearing the end of their lives and did not have much time left. Now, this peerless elixir contained powerful energy that might allow them to live for a few more years. No one wanted to die, and these big shots were no exception. Therefore, in the face of such temptation, these people could not remain calm. Looking at this scene, Lin Xian was equally astounded. Even though it was a damaged elixir, the amount of energy it contained was way too horrifying. It was definitely enough to make these big shots go crazy. He was excited because he had also picked a spiritual fruit in the mysterious forbidden underground area. Moreover, it was a complete spiritual fruit that he had refined into spiritual wine. He wondered how crazy these big shots would go if he took out the spiritual wine. Of course, he would not take it out. He wanted to taste such good things slowly. Moreover, she did not lack spiritual stones. Now that she had it at the auction, it could be said that it was extremely easy to earn spiritual stones. This was the world. Spiritual stones were easy to earn, but rare treasures were extremely hard to come by. In the end, even the big shots from the House of Kings could not sit still. The Shen family elder made a strong bid and participated in the auction. The old man from the Murong family was even more terrifying. He increased the price by 500 million in one go. This speed of increase made everyone's scalp tingle. They did not dare to bid anymore. Lin Xian was also extremely shocked. He did not expect these big shots to be so obsessed with this peerless elixir. You don't understand now, but you will in the future. You will understand what a peerless elixir means to these old guys. The Crimson Dragon said from the side. People are like this. The longer they live, the more afraid they are of death. Now, there was something that could prolong their lives. This was enough to make these people go crazy. Lin Xian did not understand because he was still young. He was not even 20 years old and had extraordinary talent. He did not have to worry about his lifespan. However, these big shots were different. Many of them had lived for too long. Now that their lifespans were about to end, they were more afraid of death than anyone else. 5 billion! An astonishing voice rang out in the hall, shocking everyone. Countless warriors' eyelids twitched. Their minds went blank. They could not believe their ears. 5 billion, this price was too terrifying. One had to know that this was not a complete peerless spirit medicine. The ordinary martial artists felt their scalps go numb, and the big shots in the VIP rooms also had gloomy expressions. The price had already exceeded their expectations. Lin Xian was equally shocked. He turned around and saw that the figure had come from the VIP room where Murong Qingqing was. Needless to say, the bidder must be the old man from the Murong family. At this moment, in the VIP room, the old man's face was calm, and there was not a trace of emotion. It was as if 5 billion spirit stones were not worth mentioning before him. This price made everyone's expression change, and no one bid again. In the end, this peerless medicine was obtained by an old man from the Murong family. Afterwards, the auction continued, and it became more and more lively because all kinds of rare treasures emerged one after another. Furthermore, as time passed, everyone became more and more excited. That was because they knew that it was about time for the final supreme treasure to appear. Sure enough, the auctioneer's expression also became serious. He said in a low voice, Everyone, the next item to be auctioned is the final treasure of this auction. I can guarantee that the value of this treasure far surpasses any of the previous items. Hearing this, everyone became excited. Even the big shots couldn't keep their calm. That was because this time, they had come for the final treasure. In the VIP room, Lin Xian's expression was also serious. He knew what the final treasure was, but he had never seen it before. This time, he could take the opportunity to see this legendary treasure. However, this made him even more shocked. As expected of a celestial martial technique, even such a heaven-defying item was willing to be auctioned. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the auctioneer. The auctioneer took out the final item. It was a stone tablet that was half the height of a person. It was abnormally simple and unadorned, and there were traces of time engraved on it. It was an ancient object. That was nothing. After all, they had all seen ancient objects before. However, what shocked them was that they sensed an indescribable aura from the stone tablet. It was very profound, and the crowd could not describe it at all. They could only faintly sense it. However, When they wanted to sense it more clearly, they discovered that they could not grasp it at all. That feeling was too profound, and it made them feel as if they were dreaming. Lin Xian was the same. However, his soul power was more outstanding, and he could sense it more clearly than the crowd. Even so, he still could not sense what the stone tablet was trying to convey. Even the big shots had sunk into contemplation. It was as if they had entered a meditative state. For a moment, the entire auction hall was terrifyingly silent. In the auction hall, the only person who was not affected was the Crimson Dragon. That was because he was very powerful to begin with. He had reached the King realm, but due to some special reason, his cultivation had dropped. However, only his strength had dropped, and his comprehension had not dropped. Thus, he was able to clearly sense the aura emitted by the King tablet. "What is written on it?" Lin Xian asked. "It can only be sensed and not explained." The Crimson Dragon shook his head like a charlatan. This caused Lin Xian to gnash his teeth with hatred. However, he could do nothing about it. He knew that it might be true because the aura was too profound. With his current cultivation, he was unable to sense it at all. If he forcefully comprehended it, it might be dangerous. So, he quickly calmed down. Because he knew that with his natural talent, he would be able to enter the King realm sooner or later. What he had to do was to make that time come quickly. At the front, the auctioneer softly coughed and broke the silence. The ordinary cultivators were jolted awake, and they had lingering fear on their faces. Earlier, they seemed to have fallen into a strange dream, and if it wasn't for that light cough, they might have lost themselves forever. On the other hand, the big shots sighed because such a good opportunity to comprehend the aura had been interrupted. However, their eyes were filled with excitement, and they flickered with light. Because they were sure that it was real. It really was the King tablet. Only such a thing could emit such an aura. When they thought up to here, their eyes burned with desire, and even their breathing became hurried. They had to get their hands on such a heaven-defying treasure. The members of the 6th rank sects were extremely excited because the King tablet was even more precious than the damaged pagoda from before. Moreover, it was countless times more precious. After all, the pagoda from before was only refined by a quasi-king, and it wasn't made by a true king. Yet now, the King tablet was left behind by a true king, and it was even an ancient king. Chapter 1052. Facing the real King's tablet, no one could remain calm. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood, all of them competing to bid. The starting price of the King's tablet was 3 billion, but Lin Xian knew that the final price would definitely be more than that because the price had already risen to 5 billion. Now, only the House of Kings and some 6th-rank sects were still bidding. 5 billion! The Shen family's elder bid. As a member of the House of Kings, he was determined to get the King's tablet, so he was very aggressive. 7 billion! The Murong family's elder bid, his voice still calm. These two giants were both members of the House of Kings, and they were competing with each other. 8 billion! However, at this moment, another voice rang out. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that someone would dare to compete at this time. Didn't they see that the 6th-rank families had already given up? There was no choice. In front of the House of Kings, everyone had to bow their heads. However, there was someone who dared to compete now. For a moment, everyone's eyes were on the VIP room, wanting to see who was the one behind it. Even Lin Xian was curious and squinted his eyes. "Who's in that VIP room?" Lin Xian asked. "It's the Blood Realm's people. According to our investigation, the faction behind this person is the Palace of Ares." "Palace of Ares!" Lin Xian's eyes flickered. No wonder they dared to compete with the Shen family and the Murong family. It turned out that they were backed by the Palace of Ares. One had to know that the Palace of Ares was also a king faction and didn't lose to the other two at all. At this moment, the martial artists outside also heard the news and immediately exclaimed, "Palace of Ares, they're making a move! They're really making a move!" I didn't see anyone from the Palace of Ares before. I thought they wouldn't come, but they still appeared at the last moment. I heard that the Palace of Ares isn't very peaceful now and seems to be splitting. I wonder which faction this person belongs to? The person who appeared in the Blood Realm must be from the Martial Realms faction. Everyone was discussing excitedly. In the crowd, the Ryu family members were also very excited because the person who made the bid was from the same faction as them. They were Prince Lingfeng's men, and that man was Wu Zun's man. Prince Lingfeng was Wu Zun's son, so they were in cahoots with the bidder. If their people could obtain the king's steel, then their strength would increase by a large margin. However, at that moment, another aged voice sounded. 5.9 billion! What? The crowd was in an uproar. Raising the price by 200 million all of a sudden was too extravagant, wasn't it? Which side was this deity from? The entire hall was in an uproar. They did not expect things to turn out this way. Originally, everyone thought that only the Murong family and Xinjia, the two great house of kings, were competing. Unexpectedly, the Palace of Ares also joined the competition. But now, a new force had joined. At that moment, the situation in the auction hall was very strange. It seemed that until the last moment, no one knew who would obtain the king's steel. The sixth-rank sect's faces were gloomy. Although they could afford the price of 5.9 billion, they knew that the final price would not be this. Although they were powerful, they could not compete with the House of Kings in terms of wealth. Therefore, those sixth-rank sects gave up on bidding. In the VIP room, the important figures of the Murong family and Shin family frowned slightly. This series of accidents made them feel that things were out of their control. However, another middle-aged man was even more furious. He was the representative of the Palace of Ares who made the bid before. This time, he was under the orders of the martial sovereign. He had to bring the king tablet back, and he had to do it at all costs. Now, another person had appeared to compete with him. Moreover, what made him even angrier was that he was very familiar with this voice. This was because the other party was also from the Palace of Ares, but they were his enemy. The Palace of Ares had fallen into a very bad situation. The Vice Palace Master took advantage of the Palace Master's closed-door cultivation to start a war in order to seize power. Therefore, the Palace of Ares was divided into two factions. One faction was led by the Vice Palace Master, which was the faction that Wu Zun and Prince Lingfeng were in. The other faction was the faction that supported the Palace Master of the Palace of Ares. Now, these two factions were locked in a fierce battle. Moreover, both sides had their eyes on the king's steel. The king's steel was very important to them because both factions had heaven-defying venerables who would soon touch the edge of the king's steel. Now, if they could obtain the king's steel and comprehend the laws on it, they might be able to take the opportunity to break through to the king's steel. At that time, whoever became the king's steel would completely suppress the other party and become the new overlord. It could be said that the king's steel was extremely important to them. In the VIP room opposite the middle-aged man, there was an old man in green. At this moment, his expression was solemn. Beside him was a beautiful woman in a green dress. If Lin Xian saw this scene, he would definitely be shocked. He'd seen these two people before, and they'd even saved him in the sand region. At this moment, the woman in green had a worried expression as well. That fellow is too arrogant. He should be taught a lesson. Don't worry. No matter how much he offers, the king's steel will be ours in the end. The old man in green spoke in a low voice. Don't forget that Senma College is our ally. The king's steel is extremely important, so they can only give it to us through an auction. So, there's no need to worry. The beautiful woman heaved a sigh of relief when she heard the old man's words. 1 billion. Meanwhile, the middle-aged venerables from the Palace of Ares spoke once more. 2 billion. 4 billion. The Shin family and Murong family weren't willing to be outdone. Meanwhile, the old man in green spoke in a low voice. 7 billion. 7 billion? Everyone was stunned when they heard this voice. All of them opened their eyes wide in disbelief. Who exactly is this? He's so rich that he can raise the price by another 500 million. One had to know that everyone's financial resources were about the same at this point in the competition. Now that he could take out another 500 million, it was enough to show that the other party was wealthy and didn't care about these spirit stones at all. Why do I feel that he's even richer than the House of Kings? Oh my God, when did such a terrifying person appear in the Tianwu continent? Countless people were shocked and discussed animatedly. As for Lin Xian, he was also greatly astonished. Not for anything else, but because this price was already frightening enough. It was enough to buy several half-Earth step artifacts. On the ranking platform, the auctioneer's lips curled into a satisfied smile. He asked in a low voice, 7 billion. Is there anyone else who wants to raise the price? Hearing this, everyone fell silent. Even the big shots from the House of Kings were silent. This price had already exceeded their expectations. Moreover, their clan had things left behind by a king, so they weren't in a hurry to obtain this king's steel. Therefore, they didn't make any more bids. As for the middle-aged martial artist from the Palace of Ares, his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He didn't expect the other party to be so wealthy. Chapter 1053. This really shocked him. Moreover, from the looks of it, 7 billion did not seem to be the other party's limit. If he continued to bid, there would be an uncontrollable situation at that time. So what if I let you have it? The middle-aged man sneered. I'll let you be proud for a while. When the time comes, I'll personally take the king's tablet away. He had already decided not to bid anymore. Instead, he would wait for the auction to make his move and snatch the king's tablet. Anyway, both parties were already sworn enemies. They would not hesitate to kill and rob. As expected, 7 billion. This heaven-defying price made everyone silent. No one bid anymore. In the end, the king's tablet was obtained by the green-robed elder. Hearing the final confirmation, the green-robed elder heaved a sigh of relief. But fortunately, this item was finally in his hands. Did they give up just like that? That shouldn't be. This doesn't seem to be their style. The beautiful girl was also puzzled. This is indeed not their style. I guess they must be planning to snatch the king's tablet halfway. They want to take it away without spending a single cent. The green-robed elder sneered. He was very familiar with the other party's methods. However, how could we not be prepared to deal with people like them? After saying that, the green-clothed old man revealed a cold smile. Everything was going according to his plan. As the last king's tablet was auctioned off, the entire auction came to an end. Some important figures stood up and prepared to leave. At this time, the auctioneer elder spoke again. Everyone, it's like this. That place is about to open again. Hearing this, the ordinary cultivators all looked puzzled because they did not understand at all. However, the elders of the major forces were stunned. Then, their pupils shrank, and their faces were filled with shock. They stopped and looked behind them. Is this true? The Shin family's elder asked. This is the news brought by the dean, the auctioneer elder said. However, the big shots furrowed their brows even tighter because they were now certain that this matter was most likely true. However, the ordinary workers around them became more and more confused as they listened. They were stunned on the spot with puzzled faces. Lin Xian was also stunned. He frowned slightly because he did not understand. Where is that place? What could make so many big shots reveal such serious expressions? He was very curious and realized that there were too many things in this world that he did not know. Down below, those grand characters pondered for a moment, then began to walk again. However, this time, they were not walking toward the exit. Instead, they were walking toward the auction elder. Since it's true, it seems that we need to discuss this matter properly. The elder of the Shin family took the lead, followed by the elder of the Murong family, the elder in Sian, and the others. The experts of the 6th grade sects also followed behind. These people could all understand. They naturally knew what that place represented. As for the others, they didn't understand. They all revealed puzzled expressions and were very surprised. However, they also knew that they were probably not qualified to know about this matter. With endless curiosity, everyone left the auction house unwillingly. They did not dare to behave atrociously in front of so many big shots. Lin Xian was also very curious. He also wanted to go down and listen, but he knew that it was impossible. Those who participated in this matter were all peerless experts. With his current status, he was still unable to participate. However, if there was an urgent matter, Senma College should have informed him. Thinking of this, he settled down and patiently dealt with the matters of the auction. At this moment, in addition to his own family members like Lin Xian, there were also the younger generation of the major forces who stayed at the auction house. As soon as Lin Xian and Wang Li came out, they saw Xing Yulong and the others. Seeing Lin Xian come out, the gloomy young man from the Shen family sneered. "I didn't expect you to dare to appear in front of us. You're really bold. I advise you to avoid it. With your level of alchemy, it's not enough to look at in front of us." The gloomy young man was very arrogant. "You dare to be careful of our brother Xian?" Wang Li snorted with disdain in his eyes. "I can't do it, but our brother Tianyu can crush him with one hand." "What a big tone. Aren't you afraid that the wind will blow you to the sky?" Wang Li sneered. "A loser dares to say such big words. If I were you, I would have killed myself." The two ridiculed each other, and the atmosphere was a little tense. However, Lin Xian and the handsome young man did not speak, but the atmosphere in the air was getting colder and colder. However, the handsome youth had an arrogant look on his face. He turned around and said to Xing Yulong, "Let's go. I came to Winseek City this time because I want to see the King Tablet. I also want to find a few Grade 7 Alchemy Grandmasters to exchange pointers with. I'm not interested in other things, and they don't have the qualifications to interest me." He was very arrogant and did not put Lin Xian in his eyes at all. At this time, Lin Xian also said in a deep voice, "Exchange? Why don't we exchange pointers?" He really could not stand the attitude of this group of people. They were all so arrogant. Those who did not know would really think that they were alchemy kings. It just so happened that Lin Xian had a new understanding of alchemy recently, and he could use the other party as a whetstone. "Exchange pointers with you? Are you worthy?" The handsome young man, Shen Tianyu, showed disdain. "Whether I'm worthy or not, you'll know after you try," Lin Xian said coldly. "What a joke! A fake 6th grade alchemist dares to compete with our brother Tian? You're courting death. You should know that our brother Tianyu is a true 7th grade alchemist. He's a Grand Master. I can guarantee that if you dare to bet, I'll make you piss your pants in shame." The gloomy young man was very arrogant. Generally, when a 7th grade alchemist reached the level of a 7th grade alchemist, they would be called an alchemy grandmaster. In terms of alchemy, they would be superb and would be respected by the major forces. The crowd did not expect that this handsome young man was a true 7th grade alchemist. Lin Xian sneered. So what if he was a 7th grade alchemist? He now had 10,000 bee sting and could refine 7th grade elixirs. Moreover, his success rate was higher than that of a true 7th grade alchemist. It could be said that he had reached the Grand Master realm long ago. Therefore, Lin Xian was not afraid of the other party at all. As long as the other party dared to provoke him, he was absolutely confident that he would beat them fiercely and let them know what a true alchemy grandmaster was. Oh? A battle between alchemy grandmasters? I won't miss such a good thing. Murong Qingqing floated over like a fairy with a faint smile on her lips. She naturally knew Shen Tianyu's strength, but she believed in Lin Xian more. In her opinion, if there was a real competition, Lin Xian would never lose. Brother Tianyu has made a move? At this time, the younger generation of the Divine Bird Palace also came over. When they saw Lin Xian, they looked strange. Because they had a life and death conflict with Lin Xian before, but now the other party's status had changed. They did not dare to act rashly, but the trace of killing intent in their eyes was undisguised. Chapter 1054. It's just dealing with a clown. With Brother Tianyu's help, it'll be done quickly. Therefore, the fellow cultivators of the Divine Bird Palace must come and watch, the cold youth from the Shin family said. How dare you talk big? Wang Li sneered. I wonder what your expressions will be when you lose. Did you know that the 3 purple spirit pills at the auction were personally refined by our brother Xian? I wonder if your brother Tianyu can refine them? Wang Li was so angry that he revealed such shocking news. What? Those 3 purple spirit pills were refined by him? Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Hearing this news, everyone was shocked because they didn't expect the strange purple spirit pills to be refined by Lin Xian. One must know that the purple spirit pill was not only a 7th grade pill, but its effects were also very strange. Even the older generation went crazy for it. Not to mention the younger generation. Now that they heard that the pills were refined by Lin Xian, they were all shocked. However, the cold youth from the Shin family snorted. Stop bragging. It must have been refined by an elder in the sect. You're just a figurehead. Don't be fooled by him. Last time in Crimson Crescent City, he was defeated by a purple spirit pill when he fought with Lin Xian. He was completely defeated and was laughed at by everyone. Now that he heard the words purple spirit pill, he was infuriated. That was why he roared so crazily to vent the anger in his heart. However, Lin Xian sneered and looked at the cold youth in front of him with disdain. In his opinion, the other party was just a clown who wasn't worth mentioning. The real enemy was the handsome young man, Xin Tianyu. Hearing the cold youth's words, the surrounding people also looked at him suspiciously. They couldn't help it. The news was too shocking and they couldn't believe it. However, Lin Xian still looked calm and at ease. It seemed that he was very confident in his own strength. It didn't seem fake. Moreover, not only Lin Xian, but the disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion also looked confident. This shocked the crowd even more. Could it be that this purple spirit pill was really refined by him? This thought quietly sprouted in everyone's hearts. Even Xin Tianyu frowned slightly. He did not expect Lin Xian to be able to refine such a pill. He turned to look at Lin Xian, his eyes filled with disbelief. He knew that Lin Xian was not a Tier 7 alchemist, but a Tier 6 alchemist. Therefore, he didn't believe that Ling Xian could concoct a Dan of the 7th realm. However, this news made him a little angry. As a 7th realm alchemist and a Grand Master, he had never heard of this Dan before. But now, a level 6 brat actually refined such a peculiar medicinal pill. This was intolerable to him. The corners of Xin Tianyu's mouth curled up into a cold smile. It's not impossible for you to spar with me. However, I don't usually spar with others for no reason. If you can offer me something that moves my heart, I can spar with you. I might even give you some guidance. Xin Tianyu said proudly. Wager, wager. Hearing this, everyone's heart skipped a beat. They knew that Xin Tianyu had a habit of making wagers with others. Whoever won in alchemy would win the other party's wager. Wager? What do you want? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. It's very simple. If you lose, give me the purple spirit pill formula in your hand. Hearing this, everyone's hearts trembled. They were extremely shocked. Sure enough, Xin Tianyu had set his sights on the formula. One should know that the purple spirit pill was a Tier 7 pill with a peculiar effect that made countless honorables go crazy. This formula was absolutely precious. If anyone could obtain it, it would definitely be a great fortune. That was why Xin Tianyu offered such a condition. Lin Xian's lips curled slightly. How dare Xin Tianyu covet his formula? He was really courting death. However, he did not refuse. Instead, he sneered in his heart. It's not impossible to use the purple spirit pill formula as a wager, but it depends on what you can offer. Lin Xian said nonchalantly. Hearing this, everyone was shocked again. They did not expect Lin Xian to dare to use the purple spirit pill formula as a wager. One should know that it was a magical treasure. How could he just take it out like that? Was he not afraid of losing? Everyone looked at Lin Xian with strange expressions. After hearing this, Xin Tianyu smiled proudly. He did not expect Xintianyu to agree so easily. This was beyond his expectations. However, this was good too. It seemed that Xintianyu was simple-minded and could not threaten him at all. This pill formula, I'm taking it. Xintianyu sneered in his heart with a smug smile. Then, he said, I won't bully you. I also have a Tier 7 pill formula in my hand. It's called the Righteous Source Pill. After taking it, it can greatly increase a supreme martial artist's cultivation and spiritual power. I'll use this formula as a wager. What do you think? Increase one's cultivation. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and shook their heads slightly. Although a pill that could increase one's cultivation was good, it was not rare. However, Lin Xian's purple spirit pill could restore one's martial soul. There were only a few people in the entire Tianwu continent who had this function. Lin Xian sneered. Xintianyu took out an ordinary Tier 7 pill formula as a wager for his purple spirit pill. How ridiculous! I didn't expect that the genius of the Shen family would not even have this much sincerity. How stingy! Since you don't have anything good in your hand, I won't blame you. Maybe you're really poor and don't know how to compare notes. Let's end it here. Lin Xian shook his head and said with a trace of disdain. He turned around and was about to leave. Wait a minute! Xintianyu shouted coldly. His face was a little pale. He did not expect Xintianyu to reject him so directly. Lin Xian acted as if he did not hear him and continued to walk away. Xintianyu's face was pale. He said coldly, Then I'll add another portion. Hearing this, Lin Xian sneered. He did not lack pill formulas. After all, he had the pill formulas left by Lord Alcohol and the inheritance of the Niwa of Gojoseon. Therefore, he did not lack pill formulas at all. Seeing that Xintianyu was ignoring him, Xintianyu's face turned even uglier. What do you want as a wager? His voice was a little ferocious because he really wanted the purple spirit pill formula. Hearing this, Lin Xian smiled. It seemed that Xintianyu had taken the bait. Then, Lin Xian stopped and turned around. He said, 2 spiritual herbs that are 6,000 years old and 3 spiritual herbs that are 5,000 years old. If you can take them out, I'll bet with you. If not, don't waste my time. Lin Xian's words shocked the surrounding martial artists. The Shen family's disciples all looked sullen, especially the gloomy young man. He screamed, What? 2 spiritual herbs that are 6,000 years old and 3 spiritual herbs that are 5,000 years old? Are you crazy? You're robbing us. Chapter 1055. Lin Xian's words shocked the surrounding martial artists. The disciples of the Shen family all looked gloomy, especially the gloomy young man. He screamed, What? 2 6,000-year-old spiritual herbs and 3 5,000-year-old spiritual herbs? Are you crazy? You're robbing us. Who do you think you are? How dare you make such a request? Do you have any idea how precious and valuable these things are? The gloomy young man was very agitated. Xintianyu's face was gloomy, and his eyes were cold. Then do you know how precious my purple spirit pill is? Lin Xian said coldly. If you're not blind, you'll be able to see what price a purple spirit pellet was sold for in today's auction. How did the elders react? Moreover, it's only a purple spirit pill. Now I'm betting on it. It can create a lot of wealth. I think you know who's taking advantage of who. Hearing this, everyone nodded. Indeed, although a 6,000-year-old spiritual herb was precious, it was gone after it was used up. However, elixir recipes were different. They could be passed down from generation to generation. Moreover, the purple spirit pill was a magical elixir. If one had the elixir recipe, it was equivalent to getting a gold mine. It could bring a lot of wealth and attract the attention of the major forces. After Lin Xian's explanation, everyone felt that it made sense. Now that they thought about it, Xintianyu was indeed too stingy. He had only used 2 ordinary 7th-grade elixir recipes as a bet. It was a bit of a bully. After all, Xintianyu was not an ordinary disciple. He was a genius disciple of the House of Kings. Such ordinary elixir recipes were not worthy of his status. Shintianyu's face was gloomy. He had thought that 2 elixir recipes could fool him. He did not expect Shintianyu to be so sneaky. Moreover, what shocked him even more was the condition that Shintianyu had proposed. 2 6,000-year-old spirit herbs and 3 5,000-year-old spirit herbs were the most precious things in his storage ring. He didn't know how the other party knew about the contents of his storage ring, but in his opinion, it should be a coincidence. That's because looking into a storage ring requires soul power. With his strength as a 7th-tier alchemist, he'll be able to detect the slightest abnormality. Moreover, he did not think that the other party could hide from his senses, so in his opinion, this was a complete coincidence. Okay, I agree to your conditions, Shintianyu said in a low voice. Although these spiritual herbs were extremely precious, they were nothing compared to the purple spirit pill's pill formula. Moreover, he was confident that he would not lose, so no matter what he took out, he was not worried. As long as he could make the other party compete with him, it would be fine. At that time, he would let the other party know what regret was. Lin Xian sneered inwardly when Shintianyu agreed. As expected, the other party had taken the bait and agreed to participate in this competition. This was great. Plus, the spiritual medicine he wanted wasn't something he said casually. He really knew what it was. Of course, he didn't use his soul power to find out. It was the little white monkey who told him. The little white monkey had a special perception of this kind of heaven and earth treasure, so it could clearly know how many good things were in the other party's storage ring. If it weren't for the other party's powerful soul power, the little white monkey would have used the treasure bowl to rob them. However, it was the same now. As long as the other party dared to take out those spiritual herbs as a bet, Lin Xian was confident that he could win them back. Seeing that the 2 alchemy geniuses had reached an agreement, the crowd was shocked and then excited. Lin Xian and Shintianyu were both very powerful, and they were both very advanced alchemists. Shintianyu had reached the level of a 7th-tier alchemist at such a young age. It could be said that he was very talented. Lin Xian was even more amazing. He could refine a magical pill like the purple spirit pill, which made countless venerables crazy. It could be said that both of them were alchemy geniuses. Now that the 2 of them were going to compete, it was naturally very exciting. Okay, after 10 days, I'll wait for you in the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, Shintianyu said coldly. Then he left with the Shin family disciples. We, the Divine Bird Palace, will not miss this duel. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace glared at Lin Xian. Their eyes were cold, and then they laughed and left. They knew Shintianyu's reputation. In their opinion, Shintianyu could defeat Lin Xian in a matter of minutes. Although they couldn't fight in person, to be able to see Lin Xian fail was an excellent thing for them. A duel between geniuses is indeed not to be missed. The disciples of the deity Sword Villa nodded slightly, and then quickly left. The young disciples around were all shocked. They all said that they absolutely couldn't miss this exciting battle. Very quickly the news spread out, and the entire Wind-Seeking city was shaken by it. They didn't expect that the auction had just ended and there would be such explosive news. This was definitely going to be an amazing duel. Everyone was excited. They all stopped in Windy City and waited for the duel. Lin Xian chuckled as he watched the departing figures of those people. He knew what those people were thinking. He was afraid that not many people believed that he could refine the purple spirit pill. However, he didn't care about these doubts and didn't explain too much. When the time came, he would refine it on the spot, and it would naturally shut these people's mouths. Moreover, what made him even angrier was that those people from the Shin family dared to covet his elixir recipe. Elixir recipes were the lifeblood of an alchemist, especially such a precious elixir recipe. Ordinary alchemists wouldn't hand it over even if they risked their lives. Now that they wanted his elixir recipe, it was a disguised attempt to kill him. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't sit still and wait for death. Sigh, it's a pity that he only has so many spiritual herbs in his storage ring. If only he had more. Lin Xian sighed and looked regretful. What he lacked most now were these spiritual herbs, especially the precious ones. In his opinion, Xin Qianyu was just an elixir boy. Just as Lin Xian decided on the duel, on the other side, the big shots had finished their discussion. In fact, there wasn't much to discuss. Everyone just wanted to confirm and then prepare. After all, this was a challenge and an opportunity for them. If they were lucky, they would receive great rewards. Lin Xian happened to meet these big shots. He immediately said respectfully, "Greetings, seniors." The elders of the big forces looked at Lin Xian and nodded slightly. When the middle-aged man from the Palace of Gods of War saw Lin Xian, his pupils constricted as if he had seen a ghost. Soon, he regained his composure. However, the corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. On the other side, the old man in green was also surprised. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be waiting for them here. Furthermore, the people from the Palace of Gods of War had bumped into him. This wasn't a good thing. However, he didn't say anything in front of everyone. He didn't know if the other party knew about Lin Xian, so he couldn't panic. Chapter 1056. Luckily, the middle-aged honorable master from the Palace of Ares only glanced at Lin Xian and did not pay much attention to him. The old man in green secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian's identity was too sensitive and could not be easily exposed. Otherwise, the other party would definitely go crazy. Lin Xian was also excited when he saw the old man in green. This was because the old man in green had told him that his father was in the Palace of Ares. Hence, he was eager to know more about his father. "Senior, please wait a moment. I have something to ask of you," Lin Xian said to the green-robed elder. The old man in green nodded and stopped in his tracks. After the big shots left, Lin Xian quickly asked, "What's the situation? How is my father? And what's the situation with the Palace of Ares? Can I go?" The old man in green hesitated, then said slowly, "You can't go now. As for your father's situation, don't worry. There's no problem." The old man in green thought for a while but did not reveal Lin Xian's true identity in the end. Wang Dianzhu and the auctioneer elder looked deeply at Lin Xian and said in a low voice, "All right, don't worry about the Palace of Ares for now. There's something you need to do now." "Something? What is it?" Lin Xian asked curiously. "It's about that place," Wang Dianzhu said. "That place?" Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Then, he asked curiously, "What is that place?" "It's a secret realm. There are countless treasures in it, but it's also extremely dangerous. It can be said that opportunities and challenges coexist. Are you willing to go to such a secret realm?" Wang Dianzhu asked. Although they wanted Lin Xian to go, the prerequisite was that Lin Xian himself had to agree. "Countless treasures!" Lin Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with excitement. What he lacked the most now was treasures. Now, there was actually a mystic realm that was filled with treasures. This was extremely good news for him. "What is the danger?" Lin Xian asked again. Although the heaven and earth treasures were good, he still had to figure out the situation before he dared to enter. "There are two aspects in total. The first is the threat from the other factions. There might be a conflict with the other factions. The second is the threat of the secret realm itself. After all, it's an ancient secret realm. Although there are many treasures in there, there are corresponding formations. That's an extremely powerful ancient forbidden formation. Its power is unimaginable. That's why the process of obtaining the treasure is extremely dangerous. Ancient formation restriction." Hearing this, Lin Xian was also surprised. However, he was secretly delighted. This was because the Crimson Dragon was an expert in formations, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to break formations. Therefore, without much thought, Lin Xian nodded in agreement. "All right then. Since you've agreed, then prepare patiently. We'll inform you when we're done discussing the details," Wang Dianzhu said. "It won't take too long. It'll only take about a month." "A month?" Lin Xian nodded. Fortunately, he had plenty of time to prepare. Then, Lin Xian left with his people. However, Wang Dianzhu frowned. That place was extremely dangerous. Moreover, it opened early this time. There might be something unusual inside. Have you really decided to let Lin Xian go in? Hearing this, the green-robed elder sighed. No one wants to take this risk. However, this opportunity only comes once in 100 years. If we miss this opportunity, we might have to wait another 100 years. No one can wait that long, and Lin Xian is even more so. If he's an ordinary warrior, then it's fine. However, his identity is too special. I'm afraid he won't be able to hide it for long before those people find out. When that time comes, he'll be in great danger. Therefore, this opening of the secret realm is the best opportunity for him to improve his strength. Although it's dangerous, it's better than being killed. Hearing this, the big shots fell silent. Alright, then it's settled. How about your side? Those people won't give up until they get the king tablet. Do you want us to send some people to escort you back? Wang Dianzhu asked. No need. I have a way to deal with it, the young elder said with a smile. Seeing the other party's confident expression, Wang Dianzhu did not say anything else. After all, the other party was not a weakling. He was an expert from the palace of Ares that was as famous as Senmu College. While the two of them were discussing, the big shots from the other forces also left Wind-Seeking City and returned to their respective families and sects to discuss this matter. They were shocked that the secret realm had opened early. It seemed that something unimaginable had happened inside. However, the things inside were too tempting. They could not resist at all, so they could only send their disciples. However, they had to discuss what kind of disciples to send. While these big shots were discussing urgently, Lin Xian was not idle either. Since he had confirmed that he would enter the secret realm in a month, he had been preparing urgently during this period. It was difficult to improve other things in a short period of time, but things like elixirs could be refined. Therefore, during this period of time, Lin Xian had been preparing all kinds of elixirs to deal with the dangers of the secret realm. However, while Lin Xian was busy in seclusion, another big event happened in Wind-Seeking City. Now, all the martial artists in Wind-Seeking City were extremely excited because they had witnessed the rise of a young alchemy grandmaster. This young man was naturally Shen Tianyu. He had stayed in Wind-Seeking City and had not left. Moreover, in the past few days, he had displayed his powerful alchemy skills, which had shocked everyone. It should be known that all the forces in Wind-Seeking City were still there. These people were all elites of the blood field, but they were still deeply shocked by Shen Tianyu's alchemy skills. The alchemists of all the forces were shocked, and they all went to visit him to ask for advice. There were even 7th-grade alchemists who went to exchange pointers with him. This made everyone even more shocked. It should be known that those alchemists were all terrifying figures, and some of them were even alchemy grandmasters. However, at this moment, they were all asking for advice from a young man. This was really incredible. For a time, Shen Tianyu's reputation spread throughout Wind-Seeking City. At the same time, the news of the competition between Shen Tianyu and Lin Xian spread. Suddenly, everyone was extremely excited. The disciples of the Shen family and the joint forces of the Shen family secretly spread the news that Lin Xian was afraid of Shen Tianyu and did not dare to go out and meet people. At first, people did not believe it because Lin Xian was not weak. However, gradually, they began to doubt it because they had not seen Lin Xian at all these days. They did not even see him at the celestial martial auction. This situation made countless people suspicious. In the end, they even began to believe that Lin Xian was afraid of Shen Tianyu, so he did not go out. Chapter 1057. Didn't he refine the purple spirit pill? With such a magical pill, why would he be afraid of competing with others? What do you know? I heard that the purple spirit pill was not refined by him. It was refined by the elders of Senmu College. They just put it under his name. Really? I didn't know there was such a thing. It's possible. After all, the purple spirit pill is too magical. How could a young man refine it? I'm afraid that even Xintianyu can't refine such a pill. Yes, I didn't believe it at first. However, Lin Xian hasn't shown up for many days. It might be true. Countless martial artists in Wind-Seeking City were talking about it. Elixirs were resources that martial artists could not live without. Therefore, every martial artist was paying attention to it. Therefore, all kinds of news were flying around. Although I don't know if the purple spirit pill was refined by Lin Xian, I heard that when Lin Xian was in Crimson Crescent City, he was invited by a grade 7 alchemist. This is enough to prove his strength and talent. Otherwise, the grade 7 alchemist would not have invited him. However, such a talented young alchemist dared not accept the challenge. How powerful is Xintianyu? Someone exclaimed. Of course, Xintianyu is the genius of the Xin family. He is a genuine grade 7 alchemist. Do you know what a grade 7 alchemist is? Look at the grade 7 alchemists now and you'll understand. It's impossible to achieve it without a few hundred years. However, Xintianyu has become a grade 7 alchemist at such a young age. This is unbelievable! Many people exclaimed. In Wind-Seeking City, many people were talking about Xintianyu. Although Xintianyu did not show up many times, he had deeply impressed everyone. For a time, his name was known throughout Wind-Seeking City. Lin Xian naturally did not know about this. He had been in seclusion to prepare for the Mystery Land. However, he did not forget about the competition with Xintianyu. After all, there were a few spiritual herbs of 6,000 years. He would not miss such a good thing. Therefore, when he felt that it was about time, he opened his eyes and exited his seclusion. However, as soon as he came out, he was unhappy. Because he heard the streets and alleys speaking ill of him. Immediately, Lin Xian found Wang Li and the others and asked them what was going on. He had only been in seclusion for a few days. How did the world change so drastically? Wang Li was also very angry. He quickly said, "Older brother Xian, in the past few days that you've been in seclusion, the entire Windy City has been talking about your competition with Xintianyu. Not only that, but the disciples of the Xin family and the Divine Bird Palace are also adding fuel to the fire in the dark. They are dedicated to smearing the reputation of the Divine Bird Palace. That's why the situation is like this now. We wanted to do it a long time ago, but we didn't dare to do it without your permission." Wang Li gritted his teeth in anger. After hearing this, Lin Xian stroked his chin. So that's what happened. No wonder the entire Wind-Seeking City was in such a situation. However, he was not worried because his purple spirit pill was not fake. He had refined it himself. Therefore, no matter what people said, they could not change this fact. However, the other party's actions infuriated him. He was not a master who would be bullied. There's no need to do it. However, since the other party has provoked us, we have to respond. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Wang Li, follow me out. Older brother Xian, where are we going? Wang Li asked. Accept the challenge. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. Hearing this, Wang Li was excited. He had long been displeased with those people. Unfortunately, without Lin Xian's order, he could not do it. But now, Lin Xian was going to take the initiative to attack. How could he not be excited? Older brother Xian, I can't help it. Wang Li shouted excitedly. Then, he followed Lin Xian out. When Lin Xian appeared in Wind-Seeking City, everyone was stunned. They were shocked as if they had seen a ghost. Because after these few days of smearing, everyone thought that Lin Xian was a coward and did not dare to accept the challenge. But now, Lin Xian had appeared. What's going on? Didn't he not dare to come out? Why did he come out now? Many people were confused. Who knows? Is he here to accept the challenge? That's impossible. Didn't they say that he's only a 6th grade alchemist? With this level, he's courting death against Xintianyu. But he's walking towards the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. The Heavenly Elixir Pavilion is where he and Xintianyu will fight. Everyone was talking about it excitedly. There was no other way. This was too shocking. They thought that the matter was over, but they did not expect such a thing to happen again. At this time, Wang Li snorted coldly. I say, what are you suspecting? Are you suspecting our older brother Xian? Let me tell you, our older brother Xian has been in seclusion for the past few days because he's studying the pill formulas. It's not some lousy rumor at all. Now that we're here to accept the challenge. That's you. You were shouting so happily just now. I advise you to tell that Xintianyu to protect his knees. Protect his knees? Everyone was confused. Because in front of older brother Xian, he'll always have to kneel. Wang Li's voice was loud and clear. It was very satisfying. Whoosh! Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar. They were all extremely shocked, as if they couldn't believe their own ears. What did I hear? Lin Xian actually fought back. F***ck, this is the rhythm of a fight. Big news, big news. I told you, Lin Xian can't be afraid. You didn't believe me. Now you believe me. Look at how confident he is. Did he really come up with a new pill formula? Everyone was excited, boiling, and in complete chaos. The previous rumor about Lin Xian's reputation was also self-destructed. Didn't you say that he was timid and did not dare to accept the challenge? But now, he had come out and accepted the challenge in a high-profile manner. He was very confident. Suddenly, the news spread like a gust of wind, quickly spreading throughout Windy City. Go and see, Lin Xian is out. What, Lin Xian is out? You're not dreaming, are you? How dare he come out? What do you know? He's going to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion to prepare for the competition. Really? F***ck. I must go and see. For a moment, the entire Windy City was shaken. Countless warriors moved to watch. This also created a strange scene. It was as if Lin Xian was an elder of a sovereign clan and was surrounded by everyone like a moon surrounded by a myriad of stars. Brother Lin, are you really going to participate in the competition? Someone did not believe and quickly asked. I say, why are you still asking this question? Wang Li said impatiently. Can't you see? Of course, our older brother Xian is going to accept the challenge. Also, hurry up and tell Xintianyu to prepare a 6,000-year-old spiritual herb. We don't want it if it's missing a leaf. Wang Li's words shocked everyone. They looked at Lin Xian's confident appearance. It did not seem fake at all. Now, everyone believed that Lin Xian was really going to accept the challenge. Thinking of this, they were extremely excited and quickly followed Lin Xian to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Chapter 1058. The Heavenly Elixir Pavilion was the largest elixir trading place in Wenfeng City. They had everything from ordinary elixirs to 7th-grade elixirs. It could be said that everyone knew about the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. At this moment, the people of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion all came out to welcome them. They naturally knew that the two of them were going to fight here, but they did not object. Instead, they were very happy. Because this kind of thing was rare, and both of them were shocking geniuses. As a disciple of the House of Kings, Xintianyu was an alchemy genius. At such a young age, he had become a 7th-grade alchemist. It could be said that he was very powerful and his future was limitless. Lin Xian was even more amazing. It was said that the purple spirit pill was refined by him. Moreover, he was the owner of the Immortal Martial Auction. The Immortal Martial Auction, there was probably no one who didn't know about this auction. The first auction had gathered countless elders of the big forces and even sent out a heaven-defying item like the King's Stone Tablet. It could be said that the Immortal Martial Auction was the top auction in the Tianwu continent. And the young man in front of them was the owner of the auction. Therefore, they did not dare to underestimate him, and all came out to welcome him. Under the welcoming of the elders, Lin Xian entered the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion. The Heavenly Elixir Pavilion had specially cleared out a courtyard for this competition. The courtyard was very spacious and connected into one piece. Inside, there were overlapping rockery and waterfalls. The scenery was very pleasant, like a paradise on earth. Lin Xian walked into the courtyard and immediately narrowed his eyes. He naturally did not pay attention to the scenery, but something else attracted his attention. With his outstanding soul power, Lin Xian sensed that there was a fire vein under the courtyard. Although it was not as good as the flaming mountain, it was still extraordinary. The fire vein contained rich fire elements, which could help alchemists increase the efficiency of refining elixirs. It could be said that it was very important. He did not expect that there would be a fire vein in the courtyard. As expected of the heavenly elixir pavilion, it was indeed extraordinary. Then, he focused his eyes and carefully sensed it. Then, he took a step forward. His footwork was very strange. It was not a straight line at all. It was as if he was stepping on something. The ordinary martial artists were puzzled and did not understand. However, the elders of the heavenly elixir pavilion were shocked and their faces were dull. They couldn't help but be shocked because they naturally knew that there was a fire vein underground. But now, every step Lin Xian took was on the fire vein. Moreover, it was the place with the densest fire vein. Lin Xian's footsteps had completely shocked the elders of the heavenly Dan pavilion. Now, they absolutely believed that the previous rumors were purposely slandered. The youth in front of them was definitely incomparably powerful. However, they didn't know if they could defeat Xintianyu because Xintianyu was also extraordinary. Moreover, they had interacted with Xintianyu before. His attainments in alchemy were even higher than theirs. Therefore, they had no way of guessing the outcome of this battle. Everything would only be known after the battle. After taking a few steps, Lin Xian stopped and stood with his hands behind his back with a smile on his face. This was because the place where he was now was the place where the fire element was the strongest. Seeing that Lin Xian was ready, Wang Li immediately said, "Why isn't that Xintianyu here yet? Could it be that he's afraid of our brother Xian's strength? Does he not dare to accept the challenge?" Previously, those people had maliciously slandered Lin Xian, which made Wang Li and the others very angry. Now that there was an opportunity, he would not miss it. When the surrounding people heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched. Obviously, the other party was retaliating against the malicious rumors from a few days ago. Soon, the news of Lin Xian's arrival at the Heavenly Dan Pavilion spread quickly. More and more people gathered at the Heavenly Dan Pavilion. The entire courtyard was packed with people. Lin Xian stood at the place where the fire vein was the strongest and waited quietly. He knew that the other party would definitely come after hearing the news. Sure enough, not long after, there was a sudden commotion behind him. The crowd spread to both sides like a tide, forcibly forming a passage. Then, a group of people swaggered out of the passage. The person in front was naturally Xintianyu. He had a handsome face and a conceited smile on his face as he walked over quickly. Next to him was the cold-looking level 6 alchemist, and Xin Yulong. Behind them were the other disciples of the Xin family. The group of people came to the courtyard in a mighty manner. Then, the cold-looking young man looked at Lin Xian and sneered. "You really dared to come. I have to say that you have a lot of guts, but you are also very stupid. How dare you go against our brother Tianyu? Just wait for your death. Today, I will expose your alchemy skills in front of everyone and let everyone know what kind of person you are." Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They did not expect Xintianyu to come so quickly, and in such a powerful manner. It seemed that there would be an exciting alchemy battle here. When Wang Li heard the other party's voice, he snorted coldly. "I think you should be the ones who are afraid. Why? Are you ready to kneel?" Seeing that Lin Xian was not backing down, the crowd finally boiled over. The alchemy competition had not yet begun, but the two sides were already mocking each other. It seemed that when the battle began, the two of them would definitely not hold back. This also meant that the battle in a while would definitely be an exciting one. "How is it? Have you prepared the 6,000-year-old spiritual herbs? You must take good care of them. If there is a single leaf, we will not accept it. Of course, we will take good care of the 6,000-year-old spiritual herbs. But you don't have to worry about that, because you won't have the chance to see them." The cold-looking young man sneered. Xintianyu, on the other hand, looked proud and aloof. He did not care about the quarrel at all. Instead, his eyes were like lightning as he quickly scanned the surroundings. Then he frowned. That was because he also felt the underground fire vein. However, what made him unhappy was that Lin Xian was standing in the best spot of the fire vein. He could not tolerate that. In his opinion, this place should belong to him, and Lin Xian did not have the right to own this place. Then, with a trace of coldness at the corner of his mouth, he quickly walked over. Get lost! I want this place! Xintianyu was very aggressive. He did not take Lin Xian seriously at all. Lin Xian sneered as well. You want it? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? Lin Xian did not have a good impression of the person in front of him. This kind of self-righteous and arrogant guy had to be taught a lesson to deter him. Boy, I'm warning you. You don't deserve this position at all. You're simply an insult to this place by standing here. Seeing that the other party was unwilling to back down, Xintianyu's face darkened. That's ridiculous. If I don't deserve it, do you think you deserve this place? Do you really think you're some big shot? Lin Xian said coldly. The crowd was puzzled. They could not understand why the two of them were fighting for a position. However, some people understood. After all, there was no lack of alchemists in the audience, and there were also level 6 alchemists. So they quickly understood the reason. Chapter 1059. You're not alchemists, so you don't know that there's a fire vein underneath. It's very dense. And Lin Xian is standing at the best spot in the fire vein. Refining pills there will achieve the best results. An elder explained. After hearing that, the crowd finally understood. No wonder the two of them were fighting for a spot. However, it seemed that Xintianyu was at a disadvantage because it seemed that Lin Xian would never give up this spot. In front of them, the two of them were confronting each other. Lin Xian was not afraid at all. On the other hand, Xintianyu was furious. His face was extremely cold, and his eyes were filled with anger. Get lost! He finally couldn't take it anymore and threw a punch forward, wanting to send Lin Xian flying. Seeing that, the crowd was shocked. They did not expect Xintianyu to suddenly attack. However, Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. He stretched out his palm and waved it forward. Boom! A low sound was heard and a terrifying energy spread out in all directions. You want to fight? I'm afraid you've got the wrong person, Lin Xian sneered. Then his arms shook and a huge force surged out of his body again. Boom! The next moment, Xintianyu's expression changed because he was forced to retreat. His body swayed and he took 3 steps back. His entire arm was slightly numb. You! He stared fiercely at Lin Xian. His eyes were burning with anger. He did not expect his opponent's combat strength to be so terrifying that he was forced to retreat. The crowd was also shocked. It seemed that in terms of combat strength, Xintianyu was far inferior to Lin Xian. At that moment, Xin Yulong also quickly stepped forward and whispered to Xintianyu. Don't fight with him. This guy's combat strength is terrifying. Xintianyu's face darkened when he heard that, but he still nodded coldly because he had already felt the power of that punch. Then he snorted. So what if he's strong in combat strength? We're competing in alchemy skills this time. So what if you've taken the best spot? I'll let you know what true strength is. Xintianyu's expression was cold. He no longer fought for the best spot. Instead, he quickly scanned the surroundings, looking for other spots. Not long after, the corners of his mouth curled up into a smile. With a flash of his feet, he arrived at a place opposite Lin Xian. The fire element there was also abnormally strong, second only to Lin Xian's location. Kid, you'll know in a moment that everything is futile in front of absolute strength. Xintianyu smiled coldly. I'll let you know what true strength is. In the face of absolute strength, everything you do is futile, Xintianyu said arrogantly. Lin Xian also said in a cold voice, an alchemist who can't even get the most advantageous position to refine pills yet you're here talking about absolute strength. I think you don't have any strength at all. You don't deserve to say these words. There are many factors involved in alchemy, and the flame factor is especially important. It can even affect the success or failure of alchemy. You can't even control such an important factor. Don't you think it's ridiculous to talk about strength with me? Lin Xian's voice was cold, and there was a trace of disdain in the corners of his mouth. You have a sharp tongue. You'll know how short-sighted your knowledge is. Xin Tianyu's face was dark, and there was a strong murderous intent. His opponent was so hateful that he dared to question his strength. He decided to teach him a lesson later and let him know what a real alchemy genius was. That's right. What's the use of talking? Let's see if you have the ability to fight. The cold youth of the Shin family also clamored. It's boring to bicker. Since it's an alchemy competition, let's see what level of alchemy you have. The disciples of the Divine Bird Palace also sneered. The surrounding warriors were very excited because they would soon be able to see a peak alchemy competition. This was definitely a rare scene. In that case, let's start. The competition is very simple. You can refine pills at will. Whoever has a higher grade and better effect will win. Xin Tianyu said, prepare the recipe for the purple spirit pill, because it will soon be mine. Hearing this, Lin Xian looked strange. He asked in a low voice, are you sure you want to compete like this? Why? You don't dare? Xin Tianyu sneered. It's not that I don't dare, but I have no chance of winning. Lin Xian said slowly, if I use the purple spirit pill, I really can't think of what kind of pill you can use to compete with me. He was telling the truth. Originally, he thought that they should refine the same kind of pill and see whose effect was better. However, he did not expect Xin Tianyu to compete with him on any kind of pill. Wasn't he looking for death? His purple spirit pill was a pill that could repair the martial soul. It was a pill that countless venerables went crazy for. It could be said that it was unique in the Tianwu continent because no one had heard of a pill with the same effect. Therefore, he really could not think of what kind of pill Xin Tianyu could use to compete with his purple spirit pill. Refine the purple spirit pill? Xin Tianyu was stunned. Then, he sneered disdainfully. If you can really refine the purple spirit pill, then I'll admit defeat. He said this directly because in his opinion, it was impossible for Xin Tianyu to refine the purple spirit pill. That was because it was a 7th grade pill, and it was one of the most outstanding 7th grade pills. With Xin Tianyu's status as a 6th grade alchemist, how could he refine it? Therefore, he did not think that Lin Xian could refine it. However, he was different. He was a genuine 7th grade alchemist. This time, for the competition, he had prepared carefully. Therefore, it wasn't difficult for him to refine a better 7th grade medicinal pill. As long as he could refine it, he would definitely be able to defeat Lin Xian. When Lin Xian heard Xin Tianyu's words, his expression became even more strange. Since Xin Tianyu was looking for death, he could only send him on his way. All right, you said it yourself. When the time comes, don't blame me for not reminding you. Lin Xian kindly reminded him again. Humph, cut the crap. Let's begin. Xin Tianyu snorted. Then, he touched the storage ring with his finger. A crimson alchemy cauldron appeared in the air. The alchemy cauldron was crimson. As soon as it appeared, it exuded a monstrous heat. There were mysterious patterns on the cauldron, forming a flame pattern that was burning fiercely. This cauldron? Could it be the Shin family's Nanming Ignis cauldron? The elder of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion was shocked. Yes, it is indeed the Nanming Ignis cauldron. I didn't expect him to have this treasure cauldron. This is a half-Earth grade treasure. Another elder exclaimed. What? A half-Earth grade treasure? When the crowd heard this, they were shocked and looked at the sky in disbelief. They did not expect that the Crimson Alchemy Cauldron was a half-Earth grade treasure. This was too shocking. One had to know that a half-Earth step treasure was an incomparably rare existence. They had not expected Xin Tianyu to be so generous in his first move. Seeing the crowd's shocked and envious eyes, Xin Tianyu smiled proudly. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.